official position. To complete employment with merely the subjugation of a single beast? Was it truly so simple? Leader, your level far exceeds mine. Would it not be more prudent for you to undertake this task personally? Furthermore, how would I deliver the summoned beast to you? Sun Hanyu's expression stiffened momentarily before returning to calm. I have more pressing matters to attend to. This task also serves as a test for you. As for how to deliver it to me, fret not. I have my methods. This is the location of the summoned beast. There exists only that one wild creature. You must go now. It may take some time to coax it out. A red dot illuminated on Lu Yu's personal map. The location was not far. A brisk run for a mere 10 minutes beyond the village would suffice. Lu Yu wasted no time, departing the hall and exiting the village. Sun Hanyu reclined back in her chair, summoning a delicate pink bat. As she caressed it, she murmured, I wonder if that adventurer can indeed subdue the wild creature that is explicitly stated as untamable. Lu Yu left Unity Village, sprinting fervently towards the red dot. The wild creatures in this area were predominantly level 20 jungle foxes, adept at stealth and ambush. However, Lu Yu currently lacks the inclination to expand his collection of summoned beasts. The goblin assassin and archer are still sufficiently leveled, and completing the employment task takes precedence. The matter of updating his summoned creatures can await his official appointment. He promptly summoned the goblin general, who perched upon his shoulder. Any wild creatures attempting to ambush were swiftly dispatched by the goblin general with a single strike. After 10 minutes, Lu Yu arrived at the location marked by the red dot. Before him lay a serene lake, its surface crystalline and bright, yet devoid of any signs of wild creatures. Upon scrutinizing the map, he confirmed that this was indeed the correct spot. Sun Hanyu had mentioned that coaxing this particular wild creature out would prove somewhat challenging, suggesting it was likely lurking beneath the water. The depths were shrouded in darkness, obscuring all visibility. Lu Yu summoned the blackwater python and shallow water crocodile, instructing them to dive into the depths. Should they encounter any wild creatures, they were to force them to the surface. The blackwater python and shallow water crocodile swam into the lake, gradually exploring the lakebed's conditions. Unable to share the vision of his summoned creatures, Lu Yu relied solely on his instincts to gauge their status. Minutes passed, yet no feedback was received from the blackwater python and shallow water crocodile. Lu Yu furrowed his brow. Although the lake was not vast, it was also not insignificant, and 2 black iron-level bosses should have thoroughly scoured the depths by now. Yet, with the passage of time, he felt no signs of conflict and saw no emergence. It was as if the 2 creatures had vanished upon entering the lake. This was not a small body of water like the Blackwater Pool, and even the Goblin General's ability to absorb water could not account for such a substantial volume. Lu Yu opened the battle log, revealing the concise entries. Your summoned creature, Blackwater Python, has entered a state of slumber. Your summoned creature, Shallow Water Crocodile King, has entered a state of slumber. Ah, he mused, that explains the prolonged silence. They had simply fallen asleep within. The creature residing below had not attacked them, but merely induced a state of slumber, indicating a degree of intelligence. No longer willing to wait, Lu Yu summoned all his goblin archers to the shore, preparing for an attack. He then commanded the goblin general to employ the skill, Ocean of All Things. In an instant, a towering water spout rose from the lake, yet still, no wild creatures emerged. Lu Yu remained unperturbed, instructing the goblin general to hurl the absorbed water into the distance while awaiting the skill's cooldown. Once the cooldown concluded, the goblin general conjured another column of water, directing it toward the lower terrain. This process repeated several times, leading to a noticeable decline in the lake's water level. At one edge, the slumbering blackwater python and shallow water crocodile king began to surface. Lu Yu cast a bemused glance at the 2 creatures before recalling them to the summoning space. He then commanded the goblin general to continue with their efforts. Do you not wish to hide beneath the water's surface? Very well. I shall drain this lake dry and see where you can conceal yourself. Minutes later, the lake's waters had diminished significantly, allowing Lu Yu to discern the vague outlines of the bottom. There, a large pink fish lay motionless. Upon seeing this hue, Lu Yu understood immediately. There was no need for inquiry. This was undoubtedly the summoned beast desired by Sun Hanyu. As women reach a certain age, their preferred color often returns to pink. The goblin general continued to siphon the lake's waters, and the pink silhouette below grew increasingly distinct. Lu Yu's eyes widened in astonishment. What he beheld was not merely a fish, it was a mermaid, one of the rarest species from the abyss. The mermaid lay quietly on the lakebed, her enchanting eyes blinking as she gazed at Lu Yu, exuding an air of innocence. The goblin general seized her, yet she offered no resistance, merely continuing to regard Lu Yu with her innocent gaze while gently swaying her tail. However, as she approached Lu Yu, her expression shifted dramatically from innocence to ferocity. With her mouth agape, revealing sharp rows of teeth, she lunged towards Lu Yu's neck. Chapter 55. The mermaid Lu Yu stood frozen, seemingly oblivious to the menacing mermaid charging at him. Just as she was within half a meter of him, a long blade interposed itself before her. The mermaid's razor-sharp teeth clashed against the hilt of the knife, leaving a neat row of bite marks. Foiled in her ambush, the mermaid wasted no time and leapt back into the water before the goblin general could react further. Moments later, her head emerged from the surface, unleashing a piercing shriek. The lake erupted in tumultuous splashes, causing the goblin archers on the shore to drop their bows and clutch their ears in agony. Lu Yu felt his mind reeling, succumbing to waves of dizziness. Truly, the most brutal of races, they had managed to inflict a significant blow to him as well. The scream persisted for a good 10 seconds before it ceased, leaving the goblin archers incapacitated upon the ground. They suffered no physical harm, yet they were rendered immobile. Lu Yu fared little better. He crouched on the ground, propping himself up with one hand while gasping for breath. Had it not been for his all-out investment in magical resistance, he too would have been rendered immobile like the goblins. Now, the only one still able to maintain composure was the goblin general. With one hand resting on his blade and the other poised, he exerted a powerful force that locked onto the mermaid. In the next instant, the mermaid was once again yanked from the depths. The goblin general unleashed his full might. The blade cleaving through the mermaid's tail, 5599. Crimson blood gushed forth as the mermaid let out a cry of anguish. One so piercing that it eclipsed her previous scream, causing even the goblin general to stagger with the intensity of his own rising heartbeat. He wielded a long blade, inflicting numerous wounds upon the mermaid's delicate form, her body quickly becoming a gruesome sight of flesh and blood. Lu Yu, sensing the urgency of the situation, summoned Li Er and Widow Wang. The three summoned beasts launched a relentless assault, causing the mermaid's health to plummet, ultimately transforming into a beam of light that entered Lu Yu's summoning space. System notification: you have slain the mermaid, Shirley, gaining 30 experience and 2,000 reputation. System notification: detection confirms the demise of Shirley, the mermaid. You may choose to incorporate her into your summoning space, which currently has the capacity for 25 different entities. Still reeling from dizziness, Lu Yu was taken aback by this system prompt. He had not had the opportunity to examine the mermaid's attributes earlier and was astonished to discover that she was not an abyssal projection, but a true mermaid. Without hesitation, he confirmed the choice. Moments later, as Lu Yu regained his composure, he finally had the energy to inspect the mermaid's attributes. Shirley, bronze level boss, level 20 race, mermaid health, 100, 000 attack, 800 defense, 350 skills, soul scream, silent song, bite, soul scream, active passive continuously emits a shriek, inducing negative status on all units that hear it. The severity of the negative status increases with the duration of the scream, cooldown, 120 seconds. Upon taking damage, it emits a more powerful shriek with no cooldown. Silent song emits ultra-low frequency sound waves, putting the target into a slumber, cooldown, 5 minutes. Bite uses sharp teeth to inflict 150 damage on the target and induces a bleeding state, cooldown, 30 seconds. Description: juvenile, capable of continued growth, rare race. Cannot be sealed or tamed. Mermaids are among the few races capable of mastering both magic and martial arts, rarely venturing into the territories of other races. Moreover, they typically appear in large groups, with juvenile mermaids being fiercely protected by their kin. Encounters with solitary mermaids are nearly impossible. As Lu Yu summoned the mermaid, she had shed her previous ferocity and now swam quietly in the lake. He crouched down, observing her tail with great curiosity. He pondered the reproduction of this race. Did they result from the union of human and fish? If so, could they mate with humans? Shaking his head, he reviewed the mermaid's panel once more, unable to suppress a sigh of admiration. No wonder Sun Hanyu had urged him to come. It seemed she herself could not tame this mermaid. Unfortunately, this mermaid was required for a job task. Otherwise, having a growing mermaid at his side would be an immense boon. Especially after witnessing her skills, Lu Yu felt a pang of reluctance. Nevertheless, he prioritized his quest. Exceptional summoned beasts would surely come his way in the future. Lu Yu had a brief exchange with the mermaid, and, upon discovering that there were no treasures hidden beneath the water, left the lake without a backward glance, hastening towards the gathering village. Employment was the first and foremost task that every player entering a secondary main city had to accomplish. Lu Yu was no exception. Only after securing a position could he truly embark on this vocational path, thus significantly enhancing his capabilities. Players desiring to change their profession could also opt for a different vocation at this juncture, marking the sole opportunity for such a transformation. Subsequent advancements, such as first and second job transitions, would merely be subdivisions within this professional trajectory. After effortlessly capturing a dozen or so jungle foxes, Lu Yu returned to the gathering village. Upon entering the village, he noticed a dramatic shift in the way the onlookers regarded him. The village was teeming with individuals from various walks of life, and the dissemination of information occurred at a markedly swifter pace than in the city. After Lu Yu's departure, some notable figures within the village became aware of the adventurer's esteemed standing with the village chief, and the news spread like wildfire. Zhang Sen informed Li Si. Have you heard? That young lad who just arrived today is highly favored by the village chief. Li Si relayed to Wang Wu. The summoner fellow has caught the village chief's attention. Wang Wu then told Zhao Lu. The new chap has been noticed by the village chief. Zhao Lu conveyed to Dong Qi. That dashing young man has piqued the village chief's interest. Dong Qi remarked to Zhou Ba. The new pretty boy is about to be taken by the village chief. When Lu Yu walked into the village, The previously hostile gazes directed at him had transformed into something peculiar. Confused, Lu Yu wondered, what kind of looks are these? There's pity, anger, envy, and even a hint of jealousy. What on earth transpired in my absence? A young man approached him, saying, Master, could you share some experiences with your junior? Experiences? What experiences? Lu Yu replied, utterly perplexed. The young man, noticing Lu Yu's bewilderment, became somewhat displeased. We are all from the same village. I wouldn't dare compete with you. I can always play the subordinate. What? Be a subordinate? What do you mean? Lu Yu brushed past him, continuing his walk towards the center of the village. Incensed, the young man spat, Bah? It's merely that you've climbed into the village chief's bed. What's so impressive about that? Look at your frail frame. You'd collapse after half a night. Lu Yu stumbled, nearly losing his footing. Climbed into the village chief's bed? Me? Who spread such a rumor? I merely completed a job assignment. Has my image fallen so low? Moreover, what do you mean by collapsing after half a night? Go ask around. Who doesn't know that Lu Yu perseveres through the night, with 17 endeavors, until dawn? No wonder those gazes felt so peculiar. Lu Yu was momentarily at a loss for words as he swiftly entered the hall. The guard at the entrance exchanged a suggestive nod with Lu Yu, prompting him to quicken his pace even further. Sun Hanyu remained reclined on the lounge chair, a delicate black stocking adorning her snow-white thigh. Upon seeing Lu Yu return so soon, her expression darkened slightly. The mermaid, whom she had personally encountered, despite being only level 20, possessed particularly troublesome skills. If not killed outright, even with Lu Yu's level 30 Goblin General projection, it would prove quite challenging to handle. Have you returned so quickly to abandon your task? Though you are an Abyss summoner, casually conceding defeat is not a trait of an exemplary summoner. The higher the level of the beast, the more arduous the task of sealing and subduing it becomes. Do not let a stroke of luck with a Goblin General projection lead you to believe you are a genius. Of course, that mermaid may indeed pose some difficulty for you. Considering your youth, I can assign you another job, to the west of the village. There is a mermaid I have already subdued. Do not interrupt me while I speak. Even if you have already captured that mermaid. Sun Hanyu paused, her tone faltering. What did you say? Repeat that. You have already captured that mermaid? Without uttering a word, Lu Yu waved his hand, and a delicate pink mermaid materialized in the hall. Gulp. Sun Hanyu could not help but swallow hard. She had always been defenseless against anything pink, and the mermaid's pure and adorable appearance completely captivated her. She instinctively reached out to touch it, but Sherry suddenly bared her sharp teeth, exhibiting a strong resistance. Sun Hanyu pouted. Do not think that because you have fortuitously subdued a level 20 mermaid, you have grasped the full extent of your abilities. You are only at level 10 now. Once you reach levels 20 or 30, you will realize that capturing a reliable summoned beast requires hundreds, if not thousands, of efforts. At times, you might even spend days and nights for just one summoned creature. Furthermore, sealing and subduing them is merely the first step. The next involves fostering a bond, achieving a spiritual connection with them, so they will heed your commands in battle. Sealing and subduing? Spending days and nights? Listening to Sun Hanyu's description, it felt akin to raising a pet Pokemon, fostering a bond. The summoned beasts he had captured seemed to lack any emotional connection. Even those like Li Er and Widow Wang had always been utterly obedient to him. Lu Yu furrowed his brow. Village chief, are you referring to the process of capturing summoned beasts? What else could I be speaking of? Do you succeed in sealing summoned beasts on your first attempt? Lu Yu rubbed his nose. I seem to have never sealed a wild creature. Sun Hanyu was slightly taken aback. Then how did you capture your summoned beasts? By simply killing them, he replied. Lu Yuli took it for granted. Did you just kill the wild monsters? By doing so, can you bring them into your summoning slots? Sun Hanyu's mouth fell agape. Wait, I've been meaning to ask you, how many summoning slots do you currently possess? Given that you previously summoned 7 or 8 goblins at once, you must have more than 10 slots now, correct? Summoning slots? How many? Suddenly, Lu Yu realized that his profession seemed to differ significantly from that of an ordinary summoner. I do not possess any summoning slots. Then where do your summoned beasts usually reside? Do they follow you around at all times? Lu Yu shook his head and waved his staff. Instantly, the grand hall was filled with goblin archers, goblin assassins, shallow water crocodiles, black water snakes, and jungle foxes. Sun Hanyu's expression gradually stiffened, her disbelief evident as she gazed at the throngs of summoned creatures before her. Even though she had reached level 80 and undergone her second-class transition, she could summon at most 12 creatures. Yet, here stood an adventurer who could effortlessly summon hundreds or even thousands of beasts, with new ones continuously appearing. Are you the mentor, or am I? All right, that's enough. Quickly, recall them. Sun Hanyu covered her eyes. She simply could not bear to look at the grotesque goblins. Lu Yu waved his staff, and all the summoned creatures returned to the summoning space, except for the mermaid. Sherry, who remained. With so many summoned beasts, how do you train them to obey your commands? There's no need for training. Lu Yu shrugged. They have never disobeyed me. Sun Hanyu fell silent, suddenly reluctant to inquire further. Each of Lu Yu's responses struck her like a direct blow, piercing through her confidence. Why, despite both being summoners, is there such a vast disparity between us? Noticing Sun Hanyu's prolonged silence, Lu Yu took the initiative to ask, when will you officially grant me my position as chief? Once you trade me that mermaid. At this point, Sun Hanyu felt a surge of elation. This mermaid was her chosen 12th summoned beast. Despite her low level, the mermaid possessed remarkable crowd control abilities and was still a juvenile, offering substantial potential for growth. How should I proceed with the trade? I will teach you a skill right now. System prompt. Chief of the Alliance, Sun Hanyu, is imparting the skill, equivalent exchange, to you. Do you accept? Accept. A new skill appeared in Lu Yu's skill bar, equivalent exchange. Effect. Allows you to exchange any item of equal value with other players who possess this skill. Cooldown none. Consumption, none. Proficiency, none. Lu Yu smacked his lips. This skill was intriguing. He directed the skill at Sun Hanyu. System prompt. You are about to engage in an equivalent exchange with Chief of the Alliance, Sun Hanyu. Please select the item you wish to exchange. Lu Yu reluctantly placed Shelly onto the platform. Sun Hanyu smiled gently. The value of a mermaid was indeed precious, and she must select an item of sufficient worth for exchange. The system prompted. Sun Hanyu chose to offer the golden item, Eternal Staff, for the exchange. But the system determined that the Eternal Staff held insufficient value, resulting in a failed exchange. A bit embarrassed, Sun Hanyu withdrew the Eternal Staff and selected another piece of equipment. The system prompted again. Sun Hanyu chose to offer the dark gold item, Falling Star Ring, for the exchange. Yet the system concluded that the Falling Star Ring also possessed insufficient value, leading to another failure. Sun Hanyu widened her eyes. For someone of her level 80, a platinum item should be quite useful. Yet, it was still deemed inadequate. Gritting her teeth, she removed her clothing. Lu Yu's eyes widened in shock. Chieftain, please. Let us discuss this. One cannot barter their own body for a summoned beast. Chapter 57. Official appointment. Lu Yu's gaze wandered continuously over Sun Hanyu's graceful figure. They say a 20-year-old girl is as beautiful as a flower, while a 30-year-old woman comprehends the heart's desires. Indeed, the Chancellor does not deceive me. However, as a budding flower of the nation, some things are merely thoughts in one's mind, words on one's lips, or actions of one's hands. But I have never truly engaged in such matters. If she were to make any excessive demands of me, should I acquiesce or resist? Alas, perhaps I should concede. If I do not, what if she resorts to force? As a man of stature, I can stand tall or lie down in submission. Yet, what if she later criticizes my inexperience? Who hasn't he had a first time? Considering it this way, I seem to be at a disadvantage. Sun Hanyu, sensing Lu Yu's gaze, shot him a fierce glare and placed her clothing into the exchange slot. Lu Yu exhaled in relief. I knew it. A level 80 chieftain would not stoop to such actions. Even if she had attempted to force me, I would never yield. The system prompted once more. Sun Hanyu chose to offer the diamond item, Longevity Robe, for the exchange, yet the system assessed that the Longevity Robe also lacked sufficient value, resulting in yet another failure. The system's notification jolted Lu Yu back to reality. Even if the mermaid Shelly were rare, she was still merely a level 20 bronze boss. How could she possibly surpass the value of a diamond item? Could there be some secret about Shelly? Alas, Sun Hanyu sighed deeply, her mood shifting abruptly from joyful anticipation to slight vexation. The Longevity Robe was my finest diamond item, and if its value fell short, then I had nothing left to offer. Observing Sun Hanyu's expression, Lu Yu felt an impulse to simply gift Shelly to her. Of course, this was merely a fleeting thought. Not only was it beyond his capabilities, but even if he could, he would never actually do it, with neither benefit nor advantage. Giving away a rare summoning beast for free. Has he lost his mind? Chief, what do you think of my appointment? No longer should I be called Chief, but rather Mentor. Sun Hanyu donned his robe anew, regaining an air of aloofness. Although you were unable to trade me the mermaid, it is solely due to my inability to provide an equivalent exchange. It is of no concern to you. Step forward, and I shall formally appoint you. Lu Yu approached, standing before Sun Hanyu. He raised his staff and softly chanted. From the dawn of our race, he has seen. Until the demise of our kind, he has long known. He is the end of all nations and the genesis of all realms. Smoke arises from chaos, and war spreads across the horizon. The survival of our race is a responsibility borne by all. The abyss bears witness. Today, I, Sun Hanyu, shall become your mentor and guide you upon the path of the summoner. Do you consent? I do. A golden light surged from beneath Lu Yu's feet, illuminating the entire hall with radiant brilliance. System prompt. Congratulations on your official appointment as Abyss Summoner. Your vocational talents have undergone a transformation. Lu Yu hurriedly opened his profession panel. Profession, Abyss Summoner, Official, Vocational Talent 1. You may summon any unit you have slain, non-player, to fight for you, with no limit on quantity. Once a summoned unit perishes, it cannot be summoned again. Vocational Talent 2. Your summoned beast can gain experience by defeating other units. Summoning space, 1024 alien summoning slots, 310 Lu Yu's eyes widened in astonishment. He had not anticipated that upon formal appointment, his vocational talents would receive such significant enhancement. Without needing to utter a word, anyone witnessing this transformation would understand just how extraordinarily advantageous the upgrade was. As for the increase in alien summoning slots, Lu Yu did not concern himself with such trivialities. He was now eager to find a place to level up. Ahem. Sun Hanyu cleared his throat. drawing Lu Yu's attention back. It was then that Lu Yu realized he had nearly encroached upon Sun Hanyu's personal space. He hastily took a few steps back, feigning nonchalance. You have now completed your formal appointment, correct? Lu Yu nodded. Following your official appointment, your vocational talents may not undergo significant changes, but that is of little consequence. The distinction between your formal appointment and your internship is minimal. It is only after your first and second advancements that your vocational talents will undergo a qualitative shift. Lu Yu numbly nodded, refraining from disclosing the changes in his vocational talents. Earlier, upon learning that he could capture summoning beasts without the need for sealing, Sun Hanyu had already been rendered speechless. If he were to reveal the alterations to his vocational talents now, it would surely make it awkward for her to continue in her role as his mentor. Upon your employment, I should have imparted several exclusive skills of the summoner to you. However, your innate talent is rather, shall we say, extraordinary, rendering the skills I could teach you largely impractical. Thus, I shall forego that. Please, master, I implored, I am utterly alone in this world, and survival is arduous. If you refuse to bestow upon me even a few skills, my existence will become even more precarious. Sun Hanyu retorted, you call that solitude? With a mere wave of your hand, you could summon countless subordinates. If your existence is so challenging, then what of others? Should they simply resign themselves to despair? Master, you are indeed my mentor. Would it not be a tad disingenuous to withhold essential skills from me? I lamented. Moreover, you are an esteemed level 80 second-tier powerhouse. Just a couple of skills from your vast repertoire would suffice for a lifetime. Sun Hanyu nodded in satisfaction. Very well. I shall teach you a skill that enhances the attributes of your summoned beasts. This skill will comprehensively elevate the strength of your summons. At 1 star, it can enhance all attributes of each summoned beast by 1. Once you reach full stars, it will directly augment them by 15. Your advantage lies in the sheer number of your summoned beasts, and with this skill, your power will surely increase significantly. However, there is a drawback. This skill cannot be used concurrently with other enhancement skills. Nonetheless, in comparison to the benefits of this skill, the effects of other skills pale in insignificance. What say you? Do you wish to learn it? As she spoke, Sun Hanyu slightly lifted her chin, wearing an expression that suggested she was aware of your growing desire, urging you to seek her approval. System prompt. Your mentor, Sun Hanyu, wishes to impart the skill, inspiration, to you. Do you accept? I glanced at my skill list and noted, War Horn. Chapter 58. A meeting of minds. Sun Hanyu tilted her head back, awaiting my response. However, after a prolonged silence, her neck began to ache, and she still did not receive a definitive answer from me. I could sense her gaze upon me, and turned to find her watching me intently, her expression tinged with irritation. What? Do you not wish to learn this skill? Her annoyance was palpable. This was a skill she had acquired after a fierce battle, having vanquished a boss while gravely wounded. While summoners possess their own enhancement skills, those skills are limited in number. The maximum enhancement is capped at 3, highlighting the formidable nature of the inspiration skill. This was a prized skill that Sun Hanyu had initially intended to keep closely guarded. However, spurred by my earlier remarks, she felt compelled to showcase her true capabilities lest she lose face as a mentor. Now, witnessing my hesitant demeanor, her displeasure surged. Are you still unaware of the might of this skill? Do not underestimate its 1-point enhancement at 1 star. That single point elevates all attributes. You possess 100 summoned beasts, which translates to an enhancement of 10. 1,000 summoned beasts results in an elevation of 100. With a skill that enhances all attributes by 100, even if you venture to the secondary main city in search of the mightiest mage of the city-state, he would still cough incessantly. Suddenly, Sun Hanyu succumbed to a fit of dry cough, swallowing the remainder of her words with great effort. Before her, Lu Yu simply presented a single entry. War Horn. Active sound the horn, granting all friendly units an elevation of 5 to all attributes, while imposing a reduction of 1 on all enemy units, lasting 5 minutes. The moment she beheld the description of this skill, Sun Hanyu was seized by the thought that perhaps Lu Yu could indeed serve as her mentor. Is this the skill you have acquired? Lu Yu nodded. A fit of coughs overtook Sun Hanyu once more. The skill she had fought tooth and nail to obtain paled in comparison to what this young man had already possessed, and his was more formidable. While her skill enhanced all attributes by 1, his augmented them by 5, and not limited to summoned beasts, but applicable to all friendly units. Moreover, in addition to boosting his allies, it simultaneously inflicted a debuff on the adversaries. Should these two skills collide, the effects of the War Horn would completely negate the encouragement provided. Sun Hanyu turned to Lu Yu, her brow furrowed. Are you truly just emerging from the novice village? How is it that you possess such extraordinary talent and skills, far surpassing me, a chieftain who has navigated these realms for over a decade? Mentor, perhaps we should consider swapping skills. I believe that your prior skill of striking the goblin general with lightning was quite impressive. Sun Hanyu's expression darkened. What business does a summoner have learning a mage's skills? Do you believe I have nothing to impart to you as your mentor? Lu Yu, sensing the gravity of the moment, fell silent, content to listen to his mentor's words. As it stands, aside from having a slightly higher level than I, it seems you possess no remarkable qualities. I shall now impart to you a skill of my own creation. Mastering this skill may not enhance your attributes, yet it will bestow upon you considerable convenience. System notification. Your mentor, Sun Hanyu, wishes to teach you the skill, Mind's Eye Connection. Do you accept? Mind's Eye Connection? What manner of skill is this? Without further explanation, Sun Hanyu turned away, refusing to meet Lu Yu's gaze. The gesture seemed to convey, learn if you wish. Acquiring an additional skill can only be beneficial, so Lu Yu acquiesced. He clicked yes. System notification. You have acquired the skill, Mind's Eye Connection, unique. An additional skill now adorned Lu Yu's skill menu, Mind's Eye Connection. Effect. You may share visual, auditory, olfactory, gustatory, and tactile sensations with your summoned beasts. Cooldown none. Consumption, none. Proficiency, none. Vocal. Upon reading the skill description, Lu Yu nearly leaped for joy. To share all 5 senses with his summoned beasts? This was precisely the skill he had longed for. Unexpectedly, I have truly mastered such a skill, one that is uniquely crafted by Sun Hanyu herself. With this ability, I can now share vision with my summoned beasts. When dispatching the goblin assassin to explore the map, I will no longer be left in utter darkness, relying solely on faint perceptions to gauge potential dangers. Moreover, the connection we share extends beyond mere sight. It encompasses all 5 senses, particularly touch and sensation. Thus, perhaps it is time to reconsider the direction in which I capture my summoned beasts. Rather than perpetually acquiring hideous and repulsive creatures like goblins, I could seek out more aesthetically pleasing summons, such as Widow Wong or the enchanting mermaid Shelley. As a man, Lu Yu has always been curious about the nature of such exhilarating experiences. Observing the astonished expression on Lu Yu's face, Sun Hanyu nodded in satisfaction. Humph, you think I, who have dominated this continent for over a decade, cannot handle you? What do you think of this skill? It's remarkable, truly remarkable. Thank you, mentor. Lu Yu expressed his heartfelt gratitude. You have an eye for quality. This skill is the culmination of over a decade spent in close companionship with my summoned beasts. Cherish it well. I will. Lu Yu nodded earnestly. Now, I have nothing more to teach you for the time being. The other skills are beyond your current level. Chief, something's amiss. Those adventurers are hunting our free-range green-skinned cattle again. A guard burst in, shouting. Sun Hanyu's expression darkened. Damn it. Those persistent pests, like relentless vermin. Lu Yu scratched his head, feeling as if he were being reprimanded as well. Chief, what shall we do? What else can we do? The green-skinned cattle are our primary source of income. Due to the abyssal restrictions, I cannot confront the adventurers directly. Gather the green-skinned cattle back. Bring back as many as you can. Once the number of adventurers entering Lingfeng City reaches 1 million, I will deal with them personally. Yes, Chief. The guard dashed out. Lu Yu glanced at the grim-faced Sun Hanyu. Mentor, since you cannot intervene, shall I go help drive those ruffians away? You? Sun Hanyu's eyes brightened as she looked at Lu Yu. Of course. You are an adventurer as well. Very well, you may represent me on this errand. System notification. Sun Hanyu has assigned you a task to drive away the adventurers hunting the green-skinned cattle and safely return with 1,000 green-skinned cattle. Task rewards. Sun Hanyu, affection 10, bronze item X1. Task penalty. Sun Hanyu, affection -10. Do you accept? Yes. Lu Yu accepted the task and set off towards the marked location on the map. On Green Cow Mountain, dozens of players were surrounding and slaughtering several green-skinned cattle. Xiaochuan, what use do we have for this cowhide? Do we really need to gather 1,000 pieces? Zhu Xiaochuan scoffed. Do you think becoming a Netherworld envoy is an easy feat? Chapter 59. The Spectre of the Netherworld. The verdant Qingshan Mountain is characterized by its 2 prominent peaks, the Gathering Fortress nestled on the western summit and the Qingshan herd residing on the eastern rise. Between these 2 elevations lies a narrow, winding path that connects the east to the west. Lu Yu raced along this trail. Most of the wild creatures on Qingshan Mountain had been eradicated by the Gathering Fortress, leaving behind only a herd of semi-wild Qingskin cattle. Qingskin cattle, common monster, level, 25 health, 10,000 attack, 50 defense, 200 skills, copper skin iron bones, charge description, a specialty of Qingshan Mountain. Its hide is remarkably durable, making it a prime material for high-grade armor. Its flesh is firm, rendering it a common medium-grade food source. It is no wonder that Sun Hanyu was so exhilarated. Such exquisite materials are a rarity among wild monsters. The funding required to sustain the fortress must be resolved independently, in addition to the taxes owed to the main city. Having a herd of material monsters would undoubtedly alleviate the financial burden on the Gathering Fortress significantly. Disturbing this herd of material monsters equates to jeopardizing Sun Hanyu's lifeline. Nay, it is akin to threatening the very lifeblood of the Gathering Fortress. Lu Yu glanced at the quest requirements, which stipulated the protection of at least 1,000 Qingskin cattle. How to safeguard them? The answer was simple, by collecting them all. After all, where could be safer than within his own summoning space? He promptly summoned his goblin army, with goblin assassins leading the way to scout ahead, while goblin archers systematically eliminated any Qingskin cattle they encountered. Lu Yu himself, accompanied by his boss-level summoned beast, traversed the path in between. He could now discern the distant players unleashing their skills, their effects visible from afar. It was uncertain which guild's members had ventured this far. With less than a week since the game's launch, casual players had yet to flood the Level 2 main city. Those who had left the novice village for the Level 2 main city at this juncture were mostly supported by their guilds. Ha ha ha, as expected of Brother Chuan. Single-handedly taking down 10 Chingskin cattle, and still in prime condition, Brother Chuan's Spectre of the Netherworld had not even officially commenced its role. Yet he was already displaying such prowess. Once he formally takes on his position, who among them could possibly contend with him? That Lu Yu would merely be relegated to licking Brother Chuan's boots. Lick boots? He wasn't even worthy of that, after blowing up the spring water in the novice village. It would be a miracle if he ever escaped from it. Ha ha ha, listening to the flattery from his subordinates. Zhu Xiaochuan's lips curled ever so slightly in a smirk. Lu Yu, what do you have left to compare with me? Even if you were to fortuitously start with a hidden profession, so what? I have now received the blessing of the game's strongest race. Once you emerge from the novice village, I shall ensure you understand why you will be forced out of the studio by me. With a deft motion of his curved blade, Zhu Xiaochuan dispatched yet another Chingskin cattle. He casually picked up the fallen leather and beef from the ground, poised to seek his next target, when suddenly, as if sensing something, he turned his gaze towards the winding path. His shadow indicated that someone was approaching from that direction. His companions, having dealt with the azure-skinned cattle before them, came over and inquired, Brother Chuan, what is the matter? Zhu Xiaochuan remained silent, acutely aware that the individual approaching possessed remarkable speed, at least exceeding level 40, or perhaps equipped with gear that significantly enhanced mobility. He understood that the azure-skinned cattle here were actually raised by the nearby Alliance village. However, he had also discerned that the only potential threat to him from the Alliance village was the village chief. Yet, the chief was an 80-level second transformation summoner and currently could not engage players directly. Hence, he felt emboldened to hunt the azure-skinned cattle without caution. However, the person now hastening towards him boasted a level exceeding 40. Could it be one of the two guards beside the village chief? Did they not vow to remain by the chief's side? Lu Yu, donning the shadowless boots, surged forward at full speed. Just moments ago, the system had informed him that the total number of azure-skinned cattle on the entire Azure Bowl Mountain had dwindled to less than 1,000. He needed to swiftly thwart those players. Failing the task would not bode well for his standing with his mentor, who was notably exceptional in all respects. With this in mind, Lu Yu activated Shadowless, doubling his speed once again. Ahead of him, a goblin assassin had already approached the players hunting the azure-skinned cattle. Though it appeared one of the players had noticed them, had players begun to acquire skills that could see through stealth? In a hurry, Lu Yu employed the skill, Heart SI, immersing himself in the perspective of a goblin assassin. Not far in front of him stood a player wielding a curved blade, casting a sinister glance in his direction. Behind this player, a dozen others stood ready for confrontation. Lu Yu glanced at the glaring prefix above their heads, Proud Sky. Goodness. It was this group again. The leader was none other than his old acquaintance, Zhu Xiaochuan. However, this time, there was no sign of Sun Xiaoyi beside him, and his weapon had transformed into a curved blade, shimmering with a greenish glow, suggesting a high grade. The title following his name had also changed from warrior to ethereal envoy, a profession of the ethereal race. Lu Yu narrowed his eyes. Though profession does not dictate racial allegiance, he harbored profound animosity towards the ethereal race. He recalled that attaining the ethereal envoy profession was arduous, requiring the completion of 7 tasks. With each task accomplished, one could learn a skill, and their physical attributes would align more closely with the ethereal race. In his previous life, both he and Chen Zhu had fallen victim to the ethereal race's hand. The deep-seated enmity remained etched in Lu Yu's mind, never to be forgotten. It was unexpected that Zhu Xiaochuan had the fortune to transition into the role of a netherworld envoy, a formidable profession renowned for its expertise in ambush and explosive strikes. It was, after all, a netherworld envoy who had slain Chen Zhu. However, before Lu Yu could witness more, a curved blade suddenly appeared before his eyes. Instantly, darkness enveloped his vision, and when it returned, he found himself once again at the center of attention. Zhu Xiaochuan, at most a level 13 or 14, had just effortlessly dispatched a level 15 goblin assassin with a single blow. The prowess of the netherworld envoy was indeed terrifying. Lu Yu hastily commanded the other goblin assassins to retreat. Their stealth was rendered utterly ineffective in the presence of a netherworld envoy, and they were no match for Zhu Xiaochuan's strength. Continuing to linger there would only lead to their demise. Having left the novice village, each fallen goblin assassin represented a loss, and Lu Yu had yet to encounter a superior assassin-type creature to replace them. Thus he needed to exercise caution. However, just as Lu Yu issued the order to withdraw, he sensed a disconnection with each of the goblin assassins one by one. At this stage, nothing could sever the bond between a summoner and their summoned creature, save for death. Furrowing his brow, Lu Yu realized that Zhu Xiaochuan had likely completed a significant number of advancement tasks. This was likely to be his final task for promotion. Chapter 60, Netherworld Envoy vs. Abyss Summoner. A few minutes later, Lu Yu found himself before a group of players from the Aotian Guild. When the black-red IDs of Qing Jiao appeared, Zhu Xiaochuan's minions displayed expressions of incredulity. How did you get out? Weren't you supposed to be trapped in the novice village? Only Zhu Xiaochuan maintained his composure. Those goblin assassins were clearly summoned creatures. The only summoner I could think of, aside from the chieftain here, is you. It seems we meet again, Lu Yu. Indeed. What a coincidence, Lu Yu replied, raising his hands in a gesture of surrender. This time, it was not I who pursued you. You stumbled upon me. Humph. Such arrogance. Who is pursuing whom is yet to be determined. Before Zhu Xiaochuan could finish his words, his body transformed into a fleeting shadow. Netherworld Phantom Step. This skill was acquired after completing the 4th advancement task. Lu Yu was well acquainted with this ability, which granted the user a 100 increase in speed and a 50 boost in evasion. With the activation of Netherworld Phantom Step, Zhu Xiaochuan surged forward, intent on eliminating Lu Yu before he could summon any creatures. Eschewing even the customary S-shaped movements typical in PK scenarios, he charged directly at Lu Yu. When he was less than 3 meters away, he silently raised the curved blade, tracing a fan-shaped arc before him. Netherworld Slash. Aimed with 100 accuracy. It inflicted 200 damage while increasing the critical hit rate of the next attack by 50. Just as the curved blade was about to strike Lu Yu, he took a step back, and a figure shimmering with golden light materialized before him. A prominent mist leapt above the golden figure's head. Witnessing this, Zhu Xiaochuan was utterly taken aback. A skill with a 100 hit rate had inexplicably missed. However, his reaction was swift. Having failed to land his strike, he immediately retreated. Yet, a longsword obstructed his escape route. Zhu Xiaochuan's back collided harshly with the blade. 1740. He was struck with astonishment. A mere ordinary attack had reduced his health by half. How long had Lu Yu been out of the novice village? He had already summoned 2 formidable beasts. What are you all dawdling for? Attack together. Zhu Xiaochuan bellowed at his subordinates, for he was not one to pursue fairness or justice. As long as it was advantageous to him, he could disregard any semblance of face, dignity, or other concerns. At Zhu Xiaochuan's furious shout, his gang immediately snapped back to attention, hastily drawing their weapons. At that moment, a piercing voice echoed across the mountaintop. Players who heard the sound were immediately engulfed in waves of dizziness. They hurriedly discarded their equipment and covered their ears to alleviate their discomfort. The soul of the mermaid. Sherry howled, its power amplified by the war horn, becoming even more terrifying. Before the call had subsided, a graceful figure appeared behind the players. A backstab. Widow Wang's blade pierced the heart of a player from the Aotian Guild, who had no time to scream before transforming into a beam of light. Returning to the main city. Simultaneously, more daggers found their mark in the hearts of other players. Within mere seconds, the Aotian players who had come to hunt the green-skinned cattle were reduced to Zhu Xiaochuan alone. His expression turned icy in an instant. He had never anticipated that over a dozen level 13 players could be eliminated in the blink of an eye. The goblin general wasted no time, swinging his long sword down with the force of the wind. Feeling the blade's arc above him, Zhu Xiaochuan's figure flickered and vanished from his position. Shadow Leap. The effect was akin to the blink learned by mages upon their first advancement, yet the ghostly teleportation surpassed the blink in both distance and cooldown. The goblin general's strike missed, and the long sword carved a wide arc around Lu Yu, forcing a shadow to retreat immediately. Ghost Shadow. Entering a phantasmal state. He could neither sustain damage nor inflict attacks. Zhu Xiaochuan had intended to approach Lu Yu under the cover of the ghostly state for a surprise attack, but the goblin's blade swept through. Should he persist in his assault, he would break the ghostly state and be struck by the longsword. His current health no longer permitted him to take further damage, leaving him with no choice but to retreat. The retreating shadow quickly split into 3, transforming into 3 identical Zhu Xiaochuans, launching an assault on Lu Yu from 3 directions. Lu Yu stood motionless, allowing 3 curved blades to strike him simultaneously. While even the air and the goblin general seemed oblivious to Zhu Xiaochuan's impending assault, a foreboding sensation surged from the depths of Zhu Xiaochuan's heart. The shadow perception. This uncanny ability allowed him to sense the approach of danger, as well as to discern the presence of the goblin assassins. Now, however, this very perception warned him of imminent death, yet he was unable to ascertain its origin. Just as he was poised to eliminate Lu Yu, Zhu Xiaochuan gritted his teeth and relinquished his further attempts at perception, letting the 3 blades sink into Lu Yu's form. Success. 3 high damage numbers erupted above Lu Yu's head, 2 of which were critical hits. Lu Yu's health plummeted to its nadir. Ha ha ha, Lu Yu. What a farce your abyss class is, nothing more. Zhu Xiaochuan cackled with glee, long haunted by the memory of his previous demise at the jaws of the shallow water crocodile. Today, vengeance was his, and how could he not be exhilarated? Yet, in the next moment, a searing pain pierced his chest, as his shadow perception blared a frantic warning. Almost instantaneously, half of Zhu Xiaochuan's remaining health vanished. Killing me once has you so elated? Lu Yu appeared before him, a sardonic smile gracing his lips. What on earth? Why are you not dead? Zhu Xiaochuan's words faltered as he collapsed, transforming into a beam of light, retreating to the main city, leaving behind a curved blade and several sheets of blue cowhide. Widow Wang materialized behind the spot where Zhu Xiaochuan had stood. Lu Yu shook his head. Zhu Xiaochuan's understanding of the Shadow Envoy skill was still woefully inadequate. Had he delved deeper into his perception upon sensing death, Widow Wang's illusion would have faltered. To eliminate a shadow envoy required more effort than Zhu Xiaochuan had exerted. Yet, Lu Yu had not lifted a finger throughout. All he had done was take a simple step back. Lu Yu picked up Zhu Xiaochuan's discarded items, his attention fixating on the curved blade emanating a greenish hue. Ghost blade, bronze item, level, 15 attack, 300 attack speed, 20 description, wielding a meteor crescent blade. This blade bore no additional effects, yet its attributes alone justified its classification as a bronze item. Lu Yu stowed it in his backpack. Bronze items were too valuable to sell at present. Having completed half of his task, it was now time to safeguard the remaining blue cows. Lu Yu surveyed his backpack, which already contained several hundred sheets of blue cowhide and blue beef. TSK. He had aided Sun Hanyu in protecting the blue cows. Was it unreasonable to expect a small fee for his services? Chapter 61. The radiant golden ring. The goblin army was sweeping across the hills, gathering the green-skinned cattle. While Lu Yu languidly browsed the forum, the fervor surrounding the 12315 novice village had yet to dissipate, but numerous players had already begun to voice their opinions online. Although the Resurrection Spring in 12315 had been destroyed, players could still respawn in a dilapidated courtyard after death, albeit with a longer wait time than before. This prompted many players who had contemplated abandoning the game to return, grumbling as they did so. There simply was no alternative game on the market that could replace Abyss. Despite its myriad of peculiar issues, players continued to persevere. Much like a certain 5v5 real-time strategy mobile game, which had been criticized for its mechanics and shamelessly reneged on its promises by introducing paid heroes, players still found themselves reinstalling the game after deleting it. The small resurrection courtyard of 12,315 was rumored to be the residence of the new village chief, following the inexplicable disappearance of the old chief. The transition in leadership within the novice village occurred quietly, unnoticed by the players. However, they remained indifferent to the NPC power struggles, merely observing the spectacle. Players from other novice villages soon discovered that their own village chiefs had seemingly changed as well, regardless of whether a dog was tied at the village entrance. As long as the chief did not hinder the issuance of quest rewards, the players were willing to refer to them as village chief, perhaps with a playful addition of dog before the title. Strangely enough, ever since the change of leadership, players noted an increase in the experience gained from defeating monsters, along with a rise in the drop rates of loot. More significantly, upon reaching level 10, players no longer faced the arduous challenge of defeating their village chief, but could instead enter the secondary main city simply by completing a quest. This development invigorated the independent players, with small teams that had not joined any guilds gradually making their way into the main city. In the previous iteration, it would have taken at least half a month after the server opened for small teams to enter the secondary main city. Lu Yu breathed a sigh of relief, realizing that humanity was finally beginning to find its footing. The green-skinned cattle had been completely gathered, and he recalled all his summoned beasts, returning to the gathering stronghold. Inside the hall, the beautiful instructor lounged on a bench, playfully teasing a delicate bat. Upon seeing Lu Yu return, a hint of frostiness crept onto her charming face. "My subordinates have informed me that there are no green-skinned cattle left on the mountain," she said. "Indeed," he replied. "I instructed you to protect the green-skinned cattle, not to exterminate them. With them all gone, how will the gathering stronghold earn any profit?" Sun Hanyu's expression was as cold as ice. "Do you realize that those green-skinned cattle could refresh every 7 days? Now that you've taken them all, they will never respawn." Lu Yu listened in silence, refraining from responding. After a moment, Sun Hanyu's anger seemed to dissipate as she slowly remarked, "Well, you killing them is certainly preferable to letting other adventurers do so. You have handed me the leather and beef, though your secondary occupation is not that of a butcher, thus you cannot acquire double the materials. Nevertheless, you are bound to obtain some. I shall now seek a new source of income for the village." The system prompts. Sun Hanyu's favorability towards you has decreased by 50. Current favorability is 45. Lu Yu clicked his tongue. Such a drastic drop in favorability is rather exaggerated. Once Sun Hanyu concluded her remarks, Lu Yu silently summoned a blue-skinned cow and commanded the goblin general to deliver a decisive strike. The blue-skinned cow collapsed instantly, vanishing, while a pristine piece of leather appeared on the ground. Sun Hanyu's stern expression softened, revealing a hint of surprise. "Is it possible for a summoned beast to drop materials upon death?" Lu Yu nodded. "Not only can it drop materials, but after my summoned beast perishes, it does not enter the summoning space. Rather, it returns to its original location to await respawning." Upon hearing this, Sun Hanyu's eyes widened in astonishment. "Are you implying that the blue-skinned cow can respawn after death?" Lu Yu affirmed with a nod. "My dear apprentice, would you be willing to visit your mentor once a week henceforth? This way, I can frequently guide you in your leveling endeavors." The system prompts. Sun Hanyu's favorability towards you has increased by 70. Current favorability is 25. Lu Yu smirked. "Huh, women. Mentor, what of my task?" "Oh, your task was completed flawlessly. Here is your reward." The system prompts. You have completed the task of protecting the blue-skinned cow, earning 10 experience, 100 reputation. Sun Hanyu's favorability of 10, and you may select one of the following pieces of equipment: golden step boots, golden robe, radiant gold ring. The option to choose equipment is indeed a delightful surprise. The beautiful Minter has truly gone to great lengths to please me. All 3 pieces of equipment are of bronze quality. Glancing at his own gear, Lu Yu noted that the shadowless boots were of silver quality, while the Crocodile King's leather armor was bronze, rendering the selection of equipment for those 2 slots rather pointless. The only vacant slot remained on his hand, however. He possessed a ring of azure fall dropped by the black water giant python in his backpack, yet Lu Yu dared not use it. He ultimately chose the radiant gold ring. A piece of equipment landed in Lu Yu's backpack. Radiant gold ring, bronze, critical hit, 5 attack speed, 5 effect, when defeating wild creatures. There is a 1 chance to additionally drop a gold coin. Description: do you have a fondness for gold? Do you desire heaps of gold? The radiant gold ring can somewhat fulfill your wishes. This description is rather cheeky. Nonetheless, such an equipment effect is indeed rare. Moreover, I happen to be in dire need of abundant gold coins. Lu Yu promptly donned the ring, instinctively concealing its gleam. My dear apprentice, why not release all the blue-skinned cows? They take up quite a bit of space in your summoning space. My summoning space is infinitely vast. Lu Yu cast a glance at his Minter and summoned forth all the blue-skinned cows. Sun Hanyu immediately summoned all the butchers in the village and set to work, disassembling all the green-skinned cattle. Even Sun Hanyu herself took part in the labor. Who would have thought that a beauty could have such a grim side gig as a butcher? Master, do you have any tasks for me? No. You may attend to your own affairs. Sun Hanyu immersed herself in the sea of green-skinned cattle, her mind no longer on Lu Yu. By the way, remember to come collect the green-skinned cattle again next week. Lu Yu smirked and left the Alliance village helplessly. Suddenly, a notification popped up, and Lu Yu opened the dialogue box. As expected, it was a message from Yesha Wuzing. Big shot, have you arrived in Lingfeng City? Indeed. I heard from Out Yin's people that you have slain their chief once more. Haha, what brings you here? Big shot, could you take me along to level up? Lu Yu glanced at Yesha Wuzing's profile. You, a level 14, want me, a level 10, to take you leveling up? If there's nothing else, I shall proceed to level up. Wait, big shot, there's just a small matter. My father asked me to inquire if you can still use the guild establishment order in your current state. Chapter 62. Are you the clear wine big shot? My father said if your red name prevents you from using the guild establishment order, he is still willing to purchase it at twice the previously discussed price. You know how my father is obsessed with the guild establishment order. He regards it as precious as his very life. Lu Yu mused. It seems Du Guohua has done his homework. The use of the guild establishment order requires not only 10,000 gold coins and 100,000 reputation points, but also a visit to the Lord's Manor. Ordinarily, the last condition would pose no issue. It's akin to processing an official document. One must make a trip to various offices. However, unfortunately, this seemingly minor requirement has become Lu Yu's greatest challenge at present. He cannot enter the main city. Should Lu Yu dare to appear within the confines of the main city, a host of first and second transformation NPCs would personally come to capture him. He is currently a designated criminal in the eyes of the city lord. For every defeat, at least 10 pieces of silver equipment would be lost. Big shot. I reckon that a mere red name is of no concern to you. Once you establish your guild, be sure to pull me in first. Lu Yu found himself speechless. After exchanging a few casual words with Yesha Wuzing, he closed the chat. Lu Yu was not without methods to quickly reduce his red name value. He was aware of several leveling spots where the reduction of red name value could occur at 10 times the normal rate. Yet the crux of the matter was that the red name value above his head was not in the hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands, but a staggering 100 million. Even at a tenfold reduction rate, it would take no less than 10 days to a month to eliminate it. While he could not erase his red name value in the short term, Lu Yu knew of a merchant who possessed an item that might enable him to successfully use the guild establishment order. Only the current state of the merchant remains. Lu Yu glanced at the time. He had been online for over 10 hours. Shenju was due for a full medical examination. Lu Yu summoned all his summoned beasts to protect him and then logged off. After the darkness, the hatch opened, revealing a bright exterior. It was around 8 or 9 in the morning. The indicator light on Chunju's gaming pod was still illuminated, and the nearby instruments showed that his vital signs were all normal. Lu Yu called for a doctor while sending Chunju a message, log off for a health check. A few minutes later, the indicator light on Chunju's gaming pod turned off, and the hatch opened. Brother Yu, something big has happened. The spring in the 12315 novice village has exploded. You weren't in that novice village, were you? I'm not there now, don't waste time. Let us get the checkup done first. That is good. Chunju sighed in relief. Lu Yu and the nurse lifted Chunju onto a hospital bed, which was then wheeled into the examination room. Lu Yu held a form as he approached the payment window, handing it over. The young lady at the window quickly pushed the receipt back. Hello, someone has already covered Chunju's medical expenses. Someone covered it? Who? He, like Lu Yu, had no family left. Did he pay for it himself? Impossible. Not only had he been in the game the entire time, but even if he had logged out once, with his meager savings, he could afford a visit to the natural residence. But hundreds of thousands in medical fees? Absolutely not. It simply wasn't possible. Oh right. The director from the Huan Bureau had mentioned wanting to help with the medical expenses. At that moment, Lu Yu's mind had been entirely focused on Chunju. and he had forgotten about it. No wonder the hospital hadn't pressed him for payment for so long. Lu Yu had thought that the hospital had suddenly grown a conscience. In reality, someone had already settled the bill. The Huan Bureau. He should seek to establish contact with them. After all, they were an official organization and might possess knowledge that even this reborn individual did not. Since the payment had been made, Lu Yu felt no need to put on a show of refusing their money, claiming he had funds of his own. Chunju's examination would take some time. So Lu Yu headed downstairs and found a restaurant. Boss, 1 portion of braised eggplant, 1 portion of spicy stir-fried meat, 1 portion of fish-flavored shredded pork, plus a serving of pigeon soup and 2 portions of rice. To go, please. All right. The restaurant owner hadn't expected customers so soon after breakfast and hurried to the kitchen. Lu Yu sat in the establishment, browsing the forum while waiting. Although the gaming pod provided nutritional fluids, the act of eating was not solely about satiating hunger. If that were the case, people could simply consume dog food to fill their stomachs, which would be economical, so why did they not resort to that? Soon, 2 burly men entered the restaurant, one ordering a bowl of rice porridge and sitting beside Lu Yu. Lu Yu frowned. The patrons of restaurants near hospitals were typically patients, their families, or visitors. The 2 burly men appeared to be anything but ordinary. Their gaze seemed to linger on him, either intentionally or inadvertently. Boss, I've settled the bill. I'm just stepping out for a pack of cigarettes. I'll be back shortly. All right. Lu Yu strolled out of the restaurant, then swiftly slipped into a nearby building. The 2 muscular men exchanged glances and promptly followed suit. The boss hurriedly emerged from the kitchen, exclaiming, "You haven't paid for your kanji yet. I'll pay when I return." "No, it must be settled now. Who knows if you'll come back?" The boss wielded a kitchen knife, showing no fear before the 2 men. What a hassle. One of the burly men fished out his phone and quickly made the payment, pushing past the boss as he dashed out. "Gone. You just mentioned buying cigarettes. Let us split up and check nearby stores." "Good." Lu Yu stepped out from the building, watching the 2 men depart, muttering softly, "They hardly seem like outsiders." He returned to the restaurant, collected 3 dishes, 1 soup, and 2 servings of rice, and headed back to the ward. Chunju had completed his examination and was preparing to return to the gaming pod. "Stop fixating on the game and eat something. Brother Yu, what is the point? Nutrient solution is sufficient. I've brought braised eggplant and spicy stir-fried meat." "All right. That nutrient solution cannot be the sole sustenance. It lacks nutrition." Lu Yu gently placed Chunju back onto the bed. "Brother Yu, I'm not giving birth. Why did you buy pigeon soup? Just eat it. No need for all the chatter." "Oh, what is your ID? Still invincible handsome man." "Ah, yes. How did you know, Brother Yu?" "Less prying. I'll add you once I log in." "Brother Yu, have you reached the secondary main city?" Lu Yu nodded. "Not bad, although you were a bit late. You've done well. Once I'm online, I'll help you level up. By the way, what is your ID?" "Qingjio." Clatter. Chunju dropped his chopsticks to the floor, his mouth agape, as if he could swallow Lu Yu whole. "Why you, Brother Yu, are you the Qingjio master?" Chapter 63. I don't want to strive anymore. Eat your meal. Stop looking so awestruck. Lu Yu picked up the chopsticks, casually wiped them, and handed them back to Chunju. Chunju instinctively accepted the chopsticks. "Brother Yu, you're not deceiving me, are you? If I were lying, I'd be your father." WOC. "Brother Yu, you really are Qingjio. But you said you were only level 7, still in the novice village?" "Indeed. At that time, I was still in the novice village." Chunju was momentarily taken aback. Qingjio had indeed not left the novice village and had even managed to blow up the spring water. In the next instant, Chunju recalled boasting about his prowess and mocking Lu Yu as a noob. "Oh my, how embarrassing. Enough chatter. Have you finished eating? Hurry up and prepare to log in." "Oh right." Chunju lowered his head, diligently avoiding eye contact with Lu Yu. Previously, he had reveled in entering the secondary main city ahead of time, but he had not anticipated that Brother Yu had already moved beyond such trivialities. Now, he found himself devoid of appetite, merely picking at his food before allowing Lu Yu to carry him into the gaming pod. The moment the pod door sealed shut, Chunju's brow furrowed. "Wait, who did you just say is daddy?" Lu Yu smacked his lips and stepped into his own gaming pod. A flash of light enveloped him, and he reappeared outside the gathering stronghold. He promptly searched for the ID, Invincible Handsome Man, to add as a friend. The friend request was almost instantly accepted, followed by a barrage of messages. "Brother Yu, you truly are a gem. When did you arrive in Lingfeng City? Why didn't you accept my previous requests?" Lu Yu rubbed his nose. He had received tens of thousands of friend requests before. He had been too lazy to accept them one by one, opting instead to decline them all at once. When Du Guohua added him, he had first exchanged greetings with the indifferent one. As Chunju continued to send messages at a rapid pace, Lu Yu, disinterested in replying, sent a remote team invitation. The map immediately displayed Chunju's location. He was making his way from the main city towards Lu Yu's position. "Don't come over. I'll give you a coordinate, and we can meet there. However, the monsters there are of a higher level, so be careful. If you can run, avoid engaging in combat." "Got it, Brother Yu." Lu Yu then took a leisurely stroll around the stronghold, restocking on potions. The main city offered level 2 potions for sale. Red potions restored 500 health points immediately and continued to restore 500 over 30 seconds, while blue potions restored 400 mana points instantly and sustained a recovery of 600 over 1 minute. Each potion cost 5 gold coins and was available in packs of 10. Lu Yu purchased 10 packs of each, spending a total of 1,000 gold coins, having amassed over 5,000 gold coins in the novice village. Along with the coins dropped by the young green bull earlier, Lu Yu's total was now nearing 6,000. A mere 1,000 coins was easily within his means. His personal need for red potions was minimal, primarily intended for the warrior, Chenju. However, Lu Yu had a substantial demand for blue potions to enhance his skill levels. He maintained a habit of continuous skill usage, causing his mana to frequently run low. The results were evident. Both War Horn and Healing Spell were nearing level 2, while Shadow Clone Technique still lagged far behind. Unfortunately, the cooldown for that skill was excessively long, making it challenging to level up quickly. After stowing the potions in his backpack, Lu Yu hurried towards the coordinates he had arranged with Chenju, which were further away from him, prompting him to quicken his pace. Along the way, he refrained from summoning his familiar. This was no longer the novice village where a single goblin general could easily overpower all wild creatures. In the secondary main city, a level 30 goblin general is hardly a formidable opponent, let alone the level 15 goblin archers and goblin assassins. However, having officially commenced his duties, it is now time to expand his repertoire of summoned beasts. Lu Yu sped along, evading high-level wild monsters with his shadowless escape move. It is imperative to establish his guild promptly, rendering any engagement with these scattered wild creatures a waste of time. Half an hour later, Lu Yu arrived at the designated coordinates. Before him lay a desolate graveyard, shrouded in an aura of death, presenting a bleak and somber vista. This graveyard serves as a projection of the undead race from the abyss. At the heart of the graveyard, an entrance to a subterranean palace beckoned, marking the destination of Lu Yu's expedition. Wandering about the graveyard were numerous skeletal soldiers, clad in the armor they wore in life, brandishing rusted spears, their eye sockets flickering with ghostly green flames. As Chenju had yet to arrive, Lu Yu summoned the goblin general and summoned a nearby skeletal soldier. Bone skeleton soldier, common monster, level 20 health, 30,000 attack, 550 defense, 120 description. They are warriors who have lost their souls and will attack all living beings. High attack, low health, low defense, and low speed. These wild monsters are particularly suited for high mobility ranged classes to level up. However, for Lu Yu, as long as they remain below level 40, the type of wild monster is inconsequential. The summoned skeletal soldier immediately locked its hatred onto Lu Yu. Its teeth clattered ominously as it raised its spear, charging at Lu Yu. Yet, its speed was hardly commendable. The goblin general let out a low grunt, swinging its long blade. 133. The soldier's head was sent flying, its body collapsing to the ground, only to crawl a few steps forward before dissolving into a beam of light, entering Lu Yu's summoning space. Instant kill. A level 30 bronze boss easily dispatches a level 20 common wild monster. Having gauged the strength of these skeletons, Lu Yu no longer held back. He summoned all goblin archers, instructing them to target the densest cluster of skeletons and unleash their arrows. Thousands of damage points erupted from above the heads of the bone skeleton soldiers. Instantly, the graveyard filled with the unsettling sound of clattering bones, sending chills down Lu Yu's spine. All skeletal soldiers charged toward him, yet their diminutive frames hindered any rapid movement. Barely advancing a few steps, the second wave of arrows rained down upon them, followed swiftly by the third and fourth waves. A few minutes later, as the skeletal soldiers finally approached Lu Yu, over 100 bone skeletons had dwindled to merely 3. Before they could even raise their spears, the goblin general cleaved them into a pile of shattered bones. Suddenly, a gasp echoed from behind him. Lu Yu turned around and beheld a doll-like face filled with astonishment. Just moments ago, Chenju had experienced a flash of brilliance and leveled up. Ever since he had entered the secondary main city, he had toiled tirelessly for an entire day, barely managing to gain 2 levels. Then, when he had logged off before, he had inadvertently been ambushed and killed by a quasi-boss, resulting in a loss of 1 level. Yet, just now, during his journey, he had effortlessly leveled up once more. Lying down for half an hour equated to all the effort he had exerted throughout the day. Chenju immediately clung to Lu Yu's leg, exclaiming, "Brother Yu, I no longer wish to strive." Chapter 64. The General's Tomb. In stark contrast to Chenju's excitement, Lu Yu felt no joy whatsoever. Just moments ago, he had vanquished over 100 skeletal warriors after leaping 10 levels. Yet his experience points had only increased by a meager 50. This was utterly perplexing. Lu Yu hastily opened the battle log, where the system notifications were laid bare before him. System notification. You have slain skeletal soldier. Experience is shared with the summoned beast that killed this creature. System notification. You have slain skeletal soldier. Experience is shared with the summoned beast that killed this creature. System notification. You have slain skeletal soldier. Experience is shared with the summoned beast that killed this creature. WTF. What is the meaning of this? What kind of absurd effect is the newly acquired professional talent after formal employment? Lu Yu had assumed that the summoned beast would receive additional experience, only to find that the experience they gained was drawn from his own. After watching his summoned beasts accumulate experience through arduous labor, he now had to share it? Did this mean that henceforth, his own experience would be divided with his summoned beasts? Was there no justice left? No law? Fortunately, the experience was only shared with the summoned beast that landed the killing blow. Thus, he would merely receive half of the experience. It appeared that moving forward, it was best for him or a boss-level summoned beast to deliver the final blow to monsters to maximize experience gain. Ordinary summoned beasts could perish at any moment. Once a summoned beast died, it would no longer belong to Lu Yu. Taking a deep breath, Lu Yu looked down to discover that Chunju was still clinging to his leg. Brother Yu, why don't you support me? I can work for you like a devoted servant. Lu Yu felt a chill run down his spine. Then go find a wealthy lady. Don't come to me. He kicked Chunju away. Chunju, unfazed, dusted himself off and got back up. Brother Yu, with you around, why would I need a wealthy lady? You're wealthier than any wealthy lady. Lu Yu replied. Is that meant as a compliment? It certainly doesn't sound like one. Stop joking. Let us enter the map. Map? What map? Aren't we fighting these skeletons? What's so special about these skeletons? As Lu Yu spoke, he moved forward. And any skeletal warriors they encountered were swiftly dispatched by the goblin general. Yuga, these are level 20 monsters. Their experience points are substantial. Are you truly not going to engage? Chunju said, trailing closely behind Lu Yu. The two swiftly made their way to the heart of the desolate grave, where the skeletal creatures had dwindled, and the murky gray-black earth exuded an eerie, foreboding atmosphere. As they continued forward, they suddenly encountered an unfathomable pit. WOC. Yuga, what is the purpose of this pit? WOC. Chunju's words were abruptly cut short as Lu Yu thrust him into the abyss. Subsequently, Lu Yu leaped into the pit as well. After a fleeting sensation of weightlessness, an invisible force ensnared the two, gently lowering them to the pit's bottom. System notification. You have entered the malevolent map, General's Tomb. Defeating monsters grants 100 experience points, with a 100 drop rate. In this map, the backpack drop rate upon death is 100, level 5, and you cannot leave voluntarily until you complete the quest. System notification. You are now in the first level of General's Tomb. The map is named General's Tomb. Lu Yu glanced at the goblin general beside him, finding the name rather ominous. It was reminiscent of Pang Tong arriving at Falling Phoenix Slope, Li Mi fleeing to Broken Secret Gorge, and Huang Chao being cornered at Extinction Mountain. However, Lu Yu understood that the general's tomb referred not to the goblin general at his side, but to the skeletal general lurking at the very bottom. Yuga, what does it mean to be in a malevolent map? Are there such dungeons in the abyss? This is not a dungeon. Be cautious, Lu Yu replied, offering no further explanation as he summoned a horde of goblins to guard them. They advanced a few steps, revealing a vast hall before them. Indeed, the hall was expansive, as Lu Yu could not discern its end. Countless skeletal soldiers roamed within. Let us proceed to the 5th level below. The staircase lies at the hall's end. The goblin general forged ahead, its blade cleaving through, obliterating the skeletal soldiers that charged at Lu Yu and Chunju. Yuga, these are just like the skeletal soldiers above. Will you not collect any? Opinions among players regarding the Abyss Summoner's profession varied widely. However, one consensus emerged. Fine wine could transform monsters into 1S summoned beasts. As an aficionado of fine wine, Chunju was well aware of this fact. Lu Yu surveyed the innumerable skeletal soldiers, noting their pitiful health and defense. What he desperately needed was a tank. These creatures, solely focused on damage output, were not suitable for expanding his summoning capacity. Yet, they could still be utilized against the skeletal horde below, as his current number of summoned beasts had dwindled to under 1,000. However, the sheer number of skeletal soldiers in the hall was overwhelming. Defeating them one by one would take an entire day. Juzi, I have a task for you. What task? Chunju suddenly felt an ominous premonition. Those boots you're wearing, they must be made of black iron, right? Indeed, the addition of 7 points to movement speed is quite impressive. Speaking of this equipment, Chunju takes great pride in it. It is not merely a treasure acquired from a boss drop, but rather something he has personally obtained through his efforts. Lu Yu nods in agreement. 7 points of mobility should suffice. Sufficient for what, one might wonder? An ominous premonition begins to grow stronger. Juzi, do you wish to level up swiftly? Of course I do. Do you wish to take down a horde of monsters in one fell swoop? Absolutely. Then are you inclined to traverse among the monsters, drawing their aggro towards you? Of course. WOC. Brother you want me to lure the monsters? With my slender arms and legs, how can I withstand the high attacks from the skeletal warriors? Your speed outmatches theirs. They cannot catch up to you. But what if they do? Then it becomes all the more necessary for you to go. Chunju is left speechless. Your class is a warrior, mine is a mage. If you do not lure the monsters, should I do it instead? In that moment, Chunju finds Lu Yu's reasoning rather sound. It is indeed illogical to send a mage to lure monsters. Alright then, I shall go. Very well, travel safely. Chapter 65. Luring monsters. Wait a moment. Lu Yu calls out to Chunju. Brother Yu, I knew you couldn't bear to part with me. No, take this with you. Lu Yu tosses 8 potions of red elixir to Chunju for him to consume on the way. Chunju receives the potions, his eyes lighting up instantly. Intermediate potions. Brother Yu, have you decided to sponsor me? Get lost. Alright. Chunju pockets the potions and charges into the throng of skeletons, exclaiming, Little skeletons, here I come. Simultaneously, Lu Yu dispatches the Goblin General and Li Er. In such a vast expanse, leaving Qinzhu to lure monsters alone would be a fool's errand. Lu Yu has already cleared a space around him and summoned all the Goblin archers, preparing for battle. The war horn sounds, and all allied units, including Qinzhu, receive a boost to their attributes. Lu Yu has no cause for concern regarding Qinzhu. Though his skills may not be top tier, they are adequate for most situations. Otherwise, even with a piece of black iron gear, defeating the village chief would be a formidable task. With Li Er possessing golden defense, Lu Yu need not worry about him either. Now, Lu Yu remains vigilant, monitoring the state of the Goblin General. Given his size, evading attacks is a challenge, and he must rely on his own attributes to withstand the blows. Lu Yu is poised with a healing spell, ready to cast it on the Goblin General the moment the cooldown expires. As the Goblin General strides through the ranks of skeletal warriors, his enormous footsteps crush the skeletons beneath him to dust. Sensing the threat, the skeletal soldiers become agitated, frantically searching for a target. Before long, they lock onto Lu Yu's position. The sound of creaking echoed throughout the grand hall, as skeletal figures, armed with long spears, surged forward, disregarding the Goblin General and Li Er, and charging directly at Lu Yu. This left Lu Yu, who was poised to cast a healing spell, momentarily uncertain as to whom he should direct his magic. In contrast, Qinzhu found himself in a flurry of chaos, sustaining several cuts that dropped his health below half. He hastily consumed a health potion, barely managing to stabilize himself at that threshold. Lu Yu promptly cast a healing spell, restoring Qinzhu's vitality to a healthy state. Qinzhu continued to navigate through the throng of skeletons, pursued closely by the agitated skeletal warriors drawn to his presence. Minutes passed, and Qinzhu's room for maneuvering diminished, with hundreds of skeletons now trailing him. "You go help," Qinzhu cried as he sprinted towards Lu Yu. After a quick assessment, Lu Yu estimated that the 3 waves of skeletons totaled over 1,000, nearing the maximum output of the Goblin archers. Without hesitation, he recalled Li Er and the Goblin General into the summoning space. Upon their return, Li Er emerged unscathed, while the Goblin General had lost less than 1 point of health. Conversely, Qinzhu's health fluctuated around 50. Lu Yu cast another healing spell on Qinzhu, but regrettably, the cooldown for the spell was lengthy. Otherwise, he could have ensured Qinzhu's health remained optimal. However, with a 2-star healing spell, the cooldown could be significantly reduced, which would alleviate the situation considerably. The skeletal warriors had entered firing range. Lu Yu organized the Goblin archers into 3 tiers, each taking turns to unleash arrows. After the first tier released their arrows, they withdrew to allow the next tier to advance, simultaneously preparing for the subsequent volley. This rhythm was maintained, ensuring no gaps in their assault. Arrows whizzed past Qinzhu's helmet, striking the mass of skeletons, and 2 war horns sounded in unison. The first round of volleys dispatched a quarter of the skeletal horde. Qinzhu, clutching his helmet, shouted, "WOC. You go. Could you ensure they aim accurately? I have no desire to become a pincushion at such a young age." Lu Yu nodded, keeping a close watch on the distance between Qinzhu and the pursuing skeletons, which remained a safe 10 meters apart. Nevertheless, he instructed the Goblin archers to elevate their bows slightly and summoned Goblin assassins to deal with any stragglers. As the archers continued their barrage while retreating, they endeavored to maintain distance from the skeletal horde. After several more rounds of volleys, the once 1,000-strong army of skeletons dwindled to fewer than 100. Yet, these remaining skeletons were now in close proximity to the Goblin archers. Before they could strike with their spears, a flurry of daggers gleamed from behind. The entire legion of skeletal warriors was annihilated. Qinzhu had long returned to Lu Yu's side, panting heavily and still in shock. "I'm exhausted. I nearly died from fright." Lu Yu cast him a sidelong glance. "It's just a game. Why are you so out of breath?" "Ah yes. Why did I feel so tired just now?" Qinzhu straightened up. Confusion etched on his face. "Brother Yu, have we managed to eliminate half of the skeletons on this level?" Lu Yu shook his head. "We have barely scratched the surface." The structure of the General's tomb resembles an inverted pyramid, with the first layer being the most expansive and decreasing in size as we descend. This level can accommodate at least 10,000 skeletal remains, and we have only dealt with a mere 1/10 of them. Only a 1/10? Upon hearing this ratio, Qinzhu immediately felt disheartened. "What? Didn't you just say you wanted me to gather all the skeletons here?" "Brother Yu, I was mistaken. Perhaps we should head straight to the 2nd level instead." Qinzhu instantly regretted his initial suggestion. He had merely wanted to observe Lu Yu's professional talents, not realizing he would have to draw the monsters himself. "Fear not. You likely won't need to draw monsters any longer." "No longer? Brother Yu, are you planning to take the lead yourself?" "I'd rather go." Lu Yu retorted. "What do you mean by that? Do you think my health and defense are inferior to yours? Or do you believe my skills are lacking? What I meant was, we now have 1,000 skeletal warriors. Let them serve as a shield while the archers attack from behind." Oh. Qinzhu suddenly understood. "Brother Yu, you are indeed clever. These skeletal soldiers may not be the best shields, but they were adequate against foes of similar attributes." The skeletal warriors had formed a line at the front, with the Goblin archers protected behind them. Under Lu Yu's command, all summoned creatures began to advance cautiously. The skeletal warriors in front continuously disintegrated into beams of light, entering Lu Yu's summoning space. Occasionally, fallen skeletal soldiers respawned behind, promptly dealt with by the goblin assassins. Meanwhile, Lu Yu's experience bar visibly increased. With the experience gained from the 1,000 skeletal warriors, he had already leveled up to 12. Beside him, Chenju was so excited he could hardly contain himself. Today, he finally understood why so many people enjoyed reaping rewards effortlessly. This sensation was simply exquisite. Brother Yu, are we going to push all the way to the bottom level this time? Lu Yu shook his head. The lowest level harbors a level 60 skeletal general. Descending there would be tantamount to courting death. Our target is the 3rd level, where a deranged merchant awaits. I intend to purchase an item from him. By the way, Zhu, you must have reached level 15 by now? Zhu nodded. After defeating the first wave of skeletal warriors, he had leveled up twice, and, following the recent sweep, had indeed reached level 15. Lu Yu retrieved the ghost blade from his backpack and tossed it to Chenju. This is a level 15 weapon. It lacks any special enhancements, so make do with it. Yuga, I too possess a piece of black iron equipment. You may keep that weapon for yourself to sell. Very well. It appears that bronze items have yet to surface on the trading platform, so it should fetch a handsome price. Indeed, who is currently selling bronze items? Yuga, you are surely capable of securing a good deal. Wait a moment. Yuga, did you say this is a bronze item? Chapter 66. They are not alive. Yes. Neither of us needs it, and it can only be listed on the trading platform. Lu Yu slowly reclaimed the equipment. I want it. Yuga, I want it. Chenju exclaimed, snatching the ghost blade, and, upon seeing the words bronze item, was unable to contain his excitement. Lu Yu nodded, knowing that he was indeed his closest friend. Chenju immediately equipped the ghost blade and said, Yuga, I'm going to play up front for a bit. With that, Chenju eagerly dashed to the forefront, standing beside the summoned skeletons. He could hardly wait to test the power of the ghost blade. Chenju shouted, swinging the curved blade twice. Warrior universal skill, double strike. The health of the opposing skeletal warrior dropped by a third in an instant. Chenju's eyes sparkled as he leaped high and struck down. Warrior universal skill, cleave. The skeletal warrior was left in a critical state, with just 2 more basic attacks. He could slay a creature 5 levels above him. This single piece of equipment had transformed Chenju entirely. However, in the next moment, 5 or 6 skeletal warriors lunged at him with their spears, inflicting damage values of 1205, 1157, 1315, 1211, 1500, and 1111. Chenju, caught off guard, saw his health plummet. Fortunately, Lu Yu intervened with a timely healing spell, otherwise, he would have been swiftly dispatched, nearly losing his soul. Chenju hurried back to Lu Yu's side. Thank you, Yuga, for saving my life. Lu Yu shrugged. With the skeletal warrior's high attack, you should have upgraded your defensive equipment. Did you not think to evade? I got a bit too excited and forgot, Chenju admitted. No matter, I will head out again shortly, Lu Yu replied. Chenju drank a potion, waiting for his health to gradually replenish before charging back at the skeletal warriors. This time, he did not foolishly stand there taking hits. Instead, after casting 2 skills, he promptly retreated, relying on the summoned skeletons to evade the spear attacks. However, whenever Chenju appeared, the surrounding skeletal warriors would immediately abandon their assault on the summoned creature and redirect their focus onto him. The rudimentary bones of the summoned skeleton could not withstand all the attacks. Several spears inevitably found their way through the gaps in its form and struck Chenju. This forced him to frequently return to Lu Yu to replenish his health. Lu Yu said little. He considered Chenju's back-and-forth movements as practice for positioning and operational awareness, as long as he didn't accidentally perish. Moreover, before the abyss descended, even if he did fall, it would not be a grave matter. Merely at level 5. Merely pushing through a map. However, from the very beginning, Lu Yu had noticed a peculiar issue. These skeletal monsters exhibited a remarkably low level of hostility towards summoned beasts. At times, even when attacked by the summoned creatures, they would not retaliate but instead redirect their ire towards themselves. Logically, these low-tier skeletons are not particularly intelligent creatures. Their actions seem more instinctual than cerebral. Indeed, they possess no brains at all. This anomaly raises further questions. Only creatures of a certain cognitive capacity would comprehend the strategy of subduing the leader before capturing the followers, opting to abandon the summoned beast to strike at the summoner instead. Why, then, do these lowly skeletons behave in such a manner? Are they under some form of control? This seems unlikely. The only entity capable of commanding these skeletons would be the skeletal general, who remains in slumber and could not possibly be aware of the events unfolding here. If he were aware, he would certainly not tolerate an intruder wreaking havoc in his domain. Ahead, Chenju had regained his composure and charged forward once more. Instantly, the surrounding skeletons abandoned their respective summoned beasts and lunged towards Chenju. Lu Yu furrowed his brow. These skeletons displayed low animosity towards the summoned creatures, but directed considerable hostility towards Chenju and himself. What types of beings would provoke such hatred in bony skeletons? Living entities. Lu Yu's frown deepened. Does this imply that his summoned beasts are not considered living beings? That is inconceivable. If one were to argue that ordinary goblins, or even the goblin general, were not alive, Lu Yu might entertain that notion. However, just moments ago, Lier had also drawn aggro without sustaining significant damage. his golden body remaining wholly intact. If that golden body were to be placed upon Chunju now, not even 5 layers would withstand being pierced. Could it be that summoned beasts truly do not qualify as living beings? Lu Yu personally rushed to the front lines, summoning Li Er, Widow Wang, Shirley, and the Goblin General to assault the bony skeletons. He wished to ascertain whether his assumptions held any merit. Brother Yu, it's dangerous. Come back, Chunju exclaimed, astonished to see Lu Yu suddenly advancing even further ahead than himself. As a warrior, he could scarcely endure a few strikes from the bony skeletons. What chance did Lu Yu, that fragile mage, stand against them? Before Chunju could finish his warning, a skeletal spear struck Lu Yu. He had already braced himself for morning, yet in the next instant, 132, 143, 222, 133, 99. A series of damage numbers erupted above Lu Yu's head, the sole figure surpassing 200 being a critical hit. Chunju's eyes widened. The cumulative damage was still less than what he had suffered from a single attack. Brother Yu, with such formidable defenses, you still asked me to draw the monsters. Cough. That was merely to help you hone your skills. Lu Yu casually responded, his gaze shifting towards Li Er and the others. All attacks were directed at Lu Yu, while Li Er, Widow Wang, Shirley, and the Goblin General remained unscathed. In fact, due to Lu Yu's presence, the summoned skeletons around them sustained no damage either. With all the animosity of the skeletal warriors converging solely upon him, could it be that all summoned beasts are not living entities? Yet why do Li Er and the others exhibit self-awareness? Chapter 67. Shadows. Lu Yu returned to the rear of the group, harboring lingering doubts regarding the nature of the summoned creatures. He was indifferent to the nature of the projection monsters. What truly piqued his interest were the living beings like Widow Wang. What state were they truly in now? Brother Yu, after slaying so many wild monsters, we only procured 2 pieces of basic equipment. Moreover, they were dropped by the monsters I defeated. When I grind for levels, the gear doesn't drop this infrequently. Then go grind by yourself, Chunju retorted promptly. He understood the importance of choosing between a few shabby pieces of equipment and leveling up through support. Lu Yu had long grown accustomed to his low drop rates. After all, during his entire journey through the Goblin Nest, only the Goblin General had dropped a piece of equipment for him. His need for gear was not as intense as that of other players. To put it in perspective, what valuable equipment could these ordinary wild monsters possibly yield? What good are a few basic items? Level 20 basic gear would hardly attract any attention on the trading platform. Although Lu Yu currently possessed merely 4 pieces of equipment, he felt no envy towards players fully equipped with gear. Did they have bronze weapons, leather armor, or rings? Did they possess silver shoes? His own pair of shoes could easily outmatch their entire ensemble. While the skeletal warriors did not drop any equipment for Lu Yu, they did yield a considerable amount of gold. With the enhancement from the Radiant Gold Ring, nearly 10,000 skeletal warriors had collectively dropped around 4,000 gold coins for him. His total gold count was nearing 5 digits. His level had also risen to 15, and with his deliberate manipulation, the final blows dealt to the skeletons were predominantly executed by his boss-level summoned beasts. The Blackwater Giant Python and Crocodile King had both reached level 11, while Li Er and Widow Wang had advanced to level 21. Only the Goblin General remained stagnant at level 30, requiring an excessive amount of experience to level up. After more than an hour of progress, they finally caught sight of the wall at the end of the hall and the staircase leading to the next level. Suddenly, Chunju exclaimed, Brother Yu, I think I just saw someone run down. Someone. Lu Yu quickly glanced towards the staircase, but saw no trace of anyone. However, along the corner of the opposite wall, up to the staircase, it was evident that the number of skeletons had significantly diminished. Could it be that players had already ventured into the General's tomb? The Merchant of Madness offers more goods to those who unlock it sooner, thereby increasing the likelihood of encountering items that Lu Yu requires. Although that individual might not know how to access the shop, Lu Yu was unwilling to take that risk. Let us proceed to the next level. Lu Yu decisively abandoned the idea of clearing the remaining skeletal remains and charged directly toward the staircase. It was imperative that no one precede him in triggering the Merchant of Madness. Chunju closely followed Lu Yu as they descended the staircase. Just as Lu Yu stepped out from the staircase, a flurry of black-bladed sabers descended from above. He hastily retreated a step, returning to the first-level staircase. As a swarm of mist notifications floated above his head. Ouch! What happened, Brother Yu? Chunju inquired while rubbing his toes. Lu Yu's expression was grave. Someone has descended before us and has drawn a horde of skeleton soldiers to the entrance of the second level. What? Someone truly went down first. How did they manage that? Lu Yu remained silent, despite having pushed through since entering the General's tomb without encountering traces of other players. There are always certain specialized classes capable of slipping past unnoticed, evading any detection. That player was likely one such special class. However, did they think that blocking the entrance with monsters would prevent me from descending? Lu Yu summoned Li Er and commanded him to clear the wild monsters obstructing the entrance on the second level. Blocking the door with high-level monsters might leave other players helpless, but for Lu Yu, it merely posed a slight delay. Lu Yu activated his mind's eye. Switching to Li Er's perspective, before him stood several black skeletons, shields in their left hands and sabers in their right. The sabers struck Li Er, sending sparks flying. Yet they could inflict no harm, Ironbone Skeleton Soldier. Elite Monster. Level 25 Description. They have lost all intellect and will attack any intruders. Lier, unarmed, retaliated with punches against the Ironbone Skeleton Soldiers. The level 21 Lier appeared somewhat outmatched against the level 25 skeletons. Through Lier's eyes, Lu Yu observed a dark figure weaving among the Ironbone skeletons, gradually drawing them toward the entrance of the second level. This individual was still luring monsters. It seemed they understood that a mere dozen Ironbone skeletons would not deter Lu Yu. Hence their intent to gather all nearby skeletons to eliminate any space for Lu Yu to maneuver. Curse it. Lu Yu squinted slightly, realizing that this opponent seemed to possess some knowledge of him and was evidently targeting him specifically. Since this is the case, do not blame yourself for being impolite. With a swift motion of one hand, Lu Yu summoned the mermaid, Sherry, who immediately ascended to the second level. A piercing wail reverberated through the area, unsettling the iron skeletons around him, their ghostly flames flickering violently as their crude blades clattered to the ground. Lier also fell to his knees. Through the mermaid's perspective, Lu Yu clearly observed that the shadow attracting the enemies was evidently disturbed. The figure's movements became erratic, and in a moment of carelessness, he was struck twice by the iron skeleton behind him, leaving him with significantly diminished health. However, he reacted swiftly, rolling forward to meld into the shadows. The swarm of iron skeletons behind him lost their target, standing vacantly, in confusion. Lu Yu surveyed the surroundings through the mermaid's vision, failing to spot any trace of the elusive figure. The iron skeletons barricading the entrance were rendered immobile. Stepping forward into the second level, Lu Yu summoned over 100 skeletal warriors, launching a barrage of piercing attacks. The fallen iron skeletons shattered into fragments, dispersing into Lu Yu's summoning space. The sudden emergence of the skeletal warriors immediately captured the attention of the nearby iron skeletons, particularly those that had just been lured. The abrupt disappearance of the shadow incited their rage, compelling them to advance toward the entrance. Despite the overwhelming number of iron skeletons, they posed no threat to Lu Yu. As he prepared to summon additional skeletal soldiers, he suddenly felt a chilling flash beneath his neck. A dagger lunged at him from thin air. Lu Yu hurriedly sidestepped, but the blade grazed his skin. 898 critical hit. He quickly consumed a health potion and cast a recovery spell, restoring his health instantly. The shadow paused for half a second, having launched the attack with the confidence of a guaranteed kill. Had the dagger found its mark in Lu Yu's throat, he would have been mortally wounded. Yet, he clearly underestimated Lu Yu's reflexes, resulting in only a minor scratch. With his attempt thwarted, the shadow vanished in an instant. Lu Yu raised his hand and executed a basic attack at the location where the shadow had disappeared, resulting in a resounding miss. The mermaid Sherry's soul scream was still on cooldown, rendering her unable to be summoned again. Lu Yu clicked his tongue in frustration. If only he had a group skill at that moment, he could have easily forced the shadow out. Alas, he was left powerless to prevent its escape. He was, after all, a mage, yet he lacked even a single area damage spell. This was unacceptable. He needed to find a way to acquire one in the future. Chapter 68. Skill upgrade. Chen Zhushan arrived late and gasped upon seeing the wound on Lu Yu's neck. Brother Yu, are you hurt? Was it that person from earlier? Lu Yu nodded, reviewing the battle records. The record of the recent ambush contained but a simple line. Player inflicted a critical strike upon you, reducing your health to 898. The good news was that the shadow was not an otherworldly entity, but rather a player. The bad news was that this player had the audacity to conceal their name even from the battle record. It is crucial to understand that this online game was not merely crafted line by a programmer. It was born from the depths of the abyss. To obscure one's name within the battle record is tantamount to exploiting a loophole within the abyss itself. Or perhaps, they had received the abyss's consent. From the individual S-class, it was likely an assassin. Yet, this was no ordinary assassin. Typical assassins rely on stealth, but they cannot achieve such silence. This was most likely a hidden class within the assassin category. However, Lu Yu could not recall any hidden class assassin capable of seamlessly transitioning in and out of stealth, leaving no trace behind. There were no sounds of footsteps or the rustle of clothing. Lu Yu's battle videos had circulated widely online. Any player from the abyss had likely witnessed his prowess. Nevertheless, that individual, having been battered by the iron-bone skeleton, still dared to stealthily approach for an ambush, indicating an unwavering confidence in their own skills. At the very least, that person believed their abilities rivaled Lu Yu's. Following their brief skirmish, Lu Yu was convinced of this fact. He let out a soft sigh. Being targeted by an assassin whose skills matched his own was far from a comforting situation. Brother Yu, what should we do now? No worries, let us continue forward. We must descend to the third level with utmost speed. That individual had certainly not ventured far and might even be lurking nearby, observing Lu Yu. Although the principle of guarding against thieves for 1,000 days is not infallible, Lu Yu currently lacked the means to unmask this rogue. An idea struck Lu Yu concerning the netherworld perception of the netherworld messenger. If he possessed that skill, he would have a significant chance of detecting the Shadow's location. For now, he would have to resort to a more rudimentary approach. Lu Yu summoned over 1,000 skeletal warriors, encircling both himself and Chen Zhu in 3 layers. Even a mere fly attempting to approach Lu Yu would face a barrage of piercing strikes. However, this strategy also attracted a substantial number of iron bone skeletons. Although the attributes of the iron bone skeletons far surpassed those of the white bone skeletons, they were not insurmountable for Lu Yu. Yet, this approach would undoubtedly hinder their pace considerably. It seemed increasingly unlikely that they would reach the third level before that individual. One could only hope that the person was unaware of the mad merchant's presence and did not have the fortune of unlocking the shop. As the team advanced slowly, Lu Yu, feeling a sense of ennui, practiced his skills, confined within the perimeter formed by the skeletal warriors. Gradually, the white bone skeletons were replaced by iron bone skeletons, significantly enhancing their security. The shadow, however, remained elusive, never revealing itself. Brother Yu, do you think that person might have already left? Lu Yu resolutely shook his head. A person who clearly approached him would not easily depart before determining a victor. To consider the situation from another's perspective, if Lu Yu were the assassin, he would never retreat so readily. With the skeletal warriors obstructing access, it was prudent to linger nearby, biding time for the opportune moment. The one who first loses patience would be the first to be dispatched. However, Brother Yu, don't you feel that remaining in this circle is rather humiliating? Lu Yu replied. Why bring up irrelevant matters? If I possessed powerful area skills like Flames of Hell or Return of the 10,000 Swords, I would have forced him out long ago. Why waste time as we are now? Do you not understand? This is a tactic of attrition, designed to lower his guard and induce complacency. Oh, Chenju nodded, sensing some validity in Lu Yu's reasoning, yet something felt amiss. System notification. Congratulations, your skill War Horn has been upgraded. System notification. Congratulations, your skill Healing Spell has been upgraded. Both skills had finally reached the next level. Lu Yu eagerly opened the skill panel, revealing that both skills had ascended to 2 stars. War Horn. Effect. Sound the horn. Increasing all attributes of friendly units by 10 and decreasing all attributes of enemy units by 3 for 5 minutes. Cooldown. 5 minutes cost. 500 mana proficiency. 1000 healing spell. Effect. Restore 40 maximum health to a selected single target. Cooldown. 50 seconds cost. 200 mana proficiency. 1000 The enhancement of the skill effects was significant. The Warhorn now increased all attributes from a mere 5 to 10, while the negative attribute for enemy units escalated from 1 to 3, effectively doubling its impact. The upgrade of the healing spell was less dramatic, improving from 30 to 40. However, the reduction in cooldown by 10 seconds was a delightful surprise for Lu Yu. This was far more meaningful than a mere increase of 10. It indicated that the cooldown of the healing spell would decrease with each level attained. Once it reaches 5 stars, the cooldown could potentially shorten to 10 seconds. With healing effects exceeding 50, the magnitude of this healing potency would be terrifying for players, let alone for a boss with substantial health. Take the Goblin General, for instance. It was a daydream for current players to eliminate it within 10 seconds. Beyond that mark, Lu Yu could easily maintain the Goblin General's health above half. Following the upgrade of the War Horn, Lu Yu also noticed a marked increase in his monster-slaying speed. In just an hour, he found himself before the staircase leading to the 3rd floor. Lu Yu instinctively slowed his pace. To access the 3rd layer, one must compel the skeletal soldier to create an opening. This aperture would allow both Lu Yu to enter the 3rd layer and that individual to surge forth beside him. Chapter 69. The mad merchant Shinju discerned this as well. Brother Yu, shall I venture ahead to scout the path? Lu Yu cast a glance at him. With your frail physique, your defensive capabilities as a warrior scarcely surpass half of my own as a mage. Shinju retorted, that stings. After clearing the iron bone skeletal soldiers on the 2nd layer, Lu Yu ascended to level 19, while the heir and the others also leveled up. Even the Goblin General had now reached level 32. Lu Yu opened the level leaderboard. 1. Invincible Handsome Man, Warrior, level 24-2. Level 23-3. Champion, Guohua, Warrior. Level 24. Mad Dragon, Dragon Soul, Warrior, level 19-5. Mad Dragon, Gun God, Elemental Archer, level 19-6. Qing Jiao, Abyss Summoner, level 19-7. Champion, 1st. Wind Whisper Swordsman, level 18-8. Proud Sky, Xing Tian, Underworld Singer, level 18-9. Wind Moon, Mingyue, Mage, level 17-10. Proud Sky, Xiaochuan, Underworld Envoy. Level 17. At first glance, Lu Yu's attention was immediately drawn to the string of asterisks beside the 2nd-ranked player. This individual must be the shadow that had ambushed him. To his surprise, he could even conceal his information on the leaderboard. Is this a characteristic of his profession? Lu Yu furrowed his brow, heightening his vigilance towards that person. Now, the level leaderboard could display players' professions. Numerous players had discovered pathways to hidden professions, with half of those on the leaderboard belonging to concealed classes. This ratio was significantly higher than in his previous life. Unfortunately, players had yet to realize that not all hidden professions were worthy of pursuit. For instance, the champion, 1st. Wind Whisper Swordsman, despite sounding like an elegant swordsman, actually had growth attributes for attack that paled in comparison to a standard warrior. Under Lu Yu's guidance, Chunju ascended to the pinnacle of the leaderboard, while Lu Yu himself made his way into the top 10. The others on the list had undergone notable transformations since their time in the novice village. Apart from Chunju, who was the most unexpected, the leaders of various alliances, such as Guohua of the Champion Alliance, Xingtian of the Proud World Alliance, and Mingwei of the Wind Moon Alliance, were also prominently featured. Although formal guilds had yet to be established, major factions were already clandestinely courting talent. The leaderboard undoubtedly served as the most effective means of promotion. While not every individual on the list was a top-tier expert, the number of players from each guild on the leaderboard could roughly indicate the strength of that guild. Lu Yu closed the leaderboard and stated, "Just follow my lead. If I do not make an appearance, he will refrain from making a move." Why? Because he understands he has but one opportunity to strike. In the contest of masters, words are unnecessary. Both parties harbor a profound understanding within. Lu Yu had discerned the essence of his opponent's skills. Should he make another move, he would inevitably be ensnared by summoned beasts. Thus, his adversary would surely strike at the most opportune moment, intent on delivering a fatal blow. The entrance to the third floor could accommodate only one individual at a time, and the skeletal soldiers had encircled it, leaving no room for passage. As Lu Yu approached, a gap swiftly emerged. He refrained from entering immediately, and the goblin general beside him raised his hand to unleash all rivers run into the sea. This was the largest area skill at Lu Yu's disposal. The soul howl of the mermaid, Shelley, was an indiscriminate attack. Once released, it would indiscriminately target friend and foe alike, potentially creating an opportunity for a surprise attack against him. A tremendous force emerged at the entrance, causing the two nearest skeletal soldiers to sway under its influence. However, aside from that, there was no other movement. Lu Yu frowned. Could it be that the adversary had truly departed? Or was he lying in wait on the third floor? Lu Yu remained cautious, instructing the skeletal soldiers to enter the third layer in succession, establishing a protective perimeter. Only after confirming that the exit of the second layer and the entrance to the third were both surrounded by summoned skeletal soldiers, did he make his move. Stepping into the third layer alongside Chenju, Li Er, Widow Wang, and Shelley closely followed Lu Yu, prepared for any eventuality. Yet, the anticipated ambush did not materialize. The shadow appeared to have genuinely departed. Ha ha ha, brother Yu, I told you that person has left, right? He would not have missed such a perfect opportunity for a sneak attack, Chenju exclaimed. Lu Yu remained silent, directing his gaze deeper into the third layer. The space here constricted further, and the atmosphere grew increasingly dim. Peering into the distance revealed an impenetrable darkness. At the entrance of the third layer, no wild creatures could be seen, yet a faint sound of bones grinding echoed from afar. Suddenly, a whistling sound pierced the air as a copper arrow sliced through the darkness, striking the foremost white skeletal soldier directly. 8101. The health of the white skeletal soldier plummeted by 1/3. This attack surpassed even that of Chunju, equipped with bronze gear. Following this, the whistling sound persisted as dozens of arrows rained down upon the front line of skeletal soldiers. Lu Yu had anticipated this. The iron bone skeleton swiftly took the place of the white bone skeleton. They raised their shields above their heads, closely aligning them to form a scaly shield wall in an instant. Clang, clang, clang. The arrows struck the shields like a torrential downpour, delivering a cascade of damage. 1002, 975, 1103, 1080. Thanks to the shield's mitigation, the damage from the arrows was significantly reduced. Lu Yu and his companions took refuge beneath the shield wall, which gradually advanced forward, revealing a dozen ancient bronze skeletons emerging from the darkness. Bronze skeleton soldier, elite monster, level 30 description. They will employ every conceivable method to eliminate any enemies within their range. The bronze skeleton soldiers are solely archers, their level merely 2 ranks below that of the goblin general. At this moment, the bronze skeletons detected Lu Yu's presence and immediately locked onto him as their target. A volley of arrows soared towards him once more, accompanied by a cascade of damage figures. 187, 169, 197, 189. Lu Yu's health plummeted to critical levels. Had it not been for his shield, he might have been instantly slain. The goblin archers in the rear finally caught up, and without waiting for Lu Yu's command, they swiftly positioned themselves, launching a barrage of arrows. The goblin archers, below level 20, struggled to penetrate the defenses of the bronze skeleton soldiers, each arrow inflicting a mere 20 or 30 points of damage. However, the overwhelming number of goblin archers, vastly outnumbering the bronze skeleton squad, effectively subdued them. The shield formation continued to advance, ultimately entering within 10 paces of the bronze skeletons. The formation suddenly dispersed, and the goblin general, arriving from behind, unleashed a powerful maneuver, ensnaring the bronze skeleton squad within a tightening circle. All summoned beasts launched their attacks simultaneously, swiftly banishing the dozen bronze skeleton soldiers into Lu Yu's summoning space. Lu Yu, observing his critically low health, took a deep breath, narrowly escaping death. The encirclement closed in once more, and the shield formation was re-established as the team pressed forward. The density of wild monsters diminished significantly. Having traversed half the distance, Lu Yu encountered fewer than 100 such squads, all of which he easily subdued. Brother Yu, did you not mention there was a mad merchant here? Where is he? Patience, he should appear shortly. No sooner had Lu Yu spoken than a maniacal laughter echoed from a corner of the hall. Ha! You all say I am mad. I am not mad. It is you who are mad. Chapter 70. The vault unveiled in the darkness. A blood-red ID floated into view as the mad merchant made his entrance. Meng Shui Rong, golden grade boss, level, 40 health. Attack. Defense. Click to expand for more. Skills. All wealth spent. Fortune from all directions. Celestial transformation description. A merchant who claims to have witnessed an omen. His mind gradually twisted. A bounty is placed on him throughout the city, with rewards of golden equipment, experience, and reputation for his slayers. Upon seeing Meng Shui Rong's description, Chun Zhu's eyes lit up. Brother Yu, this is a wild monster boss. Can we take him down? Take him down? He is already transcended. If you wish to do so, you may attempt it yourself. Lu Yu cast a resigned glance at Qin Zhu, adding, moreover, despite being a boss, he is not a wild monster. Not a wild monster, but his name is in red. My name remains shrouded in crimson. Oh, you go. What purpose do we have in seeking him? For now, regardless of what transpires, remain still. Lu Yu stepped forward. Meng Shui Rong. I know not whether you have lost your sanity, but the visions you perceive will indeed manifest in the future. Ha ha ha. A stranger I do not recognize dares to assert that what I have seen will come to pass. You are oblivious to the very nature of those visions, yet still claim they will unfold. No, adventurer, you jest with me. You seek to usurp my treasures. Infuriating. All of you covet my riches. You shall all perish. Ha ha ha. You cannot seize my treasures, and all of you shall meet your demise. Meng Shui Rong's visage contorted into a grotesque expression as a golden radiance coalesced in his grasp, revealing the faint patterns of coins within the luminous glow. This was the prelude to the skill of dissipating wealth. Lu Yu spoke nonchalantly. The sky is engulfed in darkness, the earth drenched in crimson. The world is devoid of sanctity. Infants wail, women lament, and men grasp their weapons to no avail, as a great maw devours the entire human race, leaving but a handful to survive. Suddenly, the golden light in Meng Shui Rong's hand vanished, replaced by a formation of 7 stars before him. In the next instant, he materialized right before Lu Yu. You have seen that vision as well. No, you have witnessed even more than I. Indeed, Lu Yu nodded, having seen it firsthand and experienced it himself, with a touch of his own embellishment. And then, what transpires next? How does one survive? Lu Yu remained silent, simply observing Meng Shui Rong. In a fit of desperation, Meng Shui Rong seized Lu Yu by the collar, lifting him up. His blood-red eyes bore into Lu Yu's. Tell me, quickly, how can I avoid being consumed? How can I survive? You go. Seeing Lu Yu in Meng Shui Rong's grasp, Chun Zhu grew frantic, launching a swift 2-hit attack against Meng Shui Rong. 1. No defenses were breached, deducting 1 point of health. Before Chun Zhu could continue his assault, a golden beam of light descended, piercing through his body. 12564. Instant death. Chun Zhu slowly collapsed, his soul escaping his corporeal form, leaving behind a coin upon his lifeless body. Lu Yu inhaled deeply. It's fine. The abyss has yet to descend. It's merely a drop of 5 levels. From 1st to 4th on the celestial leaderboard. Oh, but wait. The ghost blade seems to have dropped as well. What ill fortune. Tell me, how can I survive? Meng Shui Rong's expression twisted further into a snarl as he bellowed. Otherwise, I shall slay you now. Should you take my life, you shall forever remain ignorant of how to endure. Lu Yu's tone was calm, as if the threat did not pertain to him. Do you believe I am merely threatening you? Do you think I would hesitate to kill you? Meng Shui Rong raised his left hand, and the golden light re-emerged. Behold, I find myself in a state of desperation. Even the slightest exertion on your part could lead to my demise. Meng Shui Rong raised his hand, only to let it fall slowly. I implore you, tell me how to evade being devoured, how to survive. Do you truly wish to know the answer? Yes, of course. Please, enlighten me. The fierce countenance of Meng Shui Rong instantaneously transformed into one of yearning. Then reveal your treasure trove. Let us strike a bargain. No, I cannot allow anyone a glimpse of my trove. Then you shall forever remain ignorant of the means to survive. Meng Shui Rong found himself ensnared in turmoil. If only he could show him the trove, just once, he might uncover the secret to living. No, the more eyes that behold the treasures within, the more they vanish. If I do not show him, I cannot live. If I do, he will undoubtedly take something. Lu Yu stood quietly aside, observing Meng Shui Rong's soliloquy. Minutes later, Meng Shui Rong abruptly sealed his lips, fixing his gaze upon Lu Yu. I shall show you a glimpse of the trove if you reveal to me the means of survival. Lu Yu shook his head. You must also provide me with 2 teleportation scrolls from here. I am aware you possess them. Meng Shui Rong suddenly grinned. You cannot escape on your own. You require the power of the scrolls. Lu Yu remained noncommittal. Ha, very well. The scrolls hold no significance for me, yet I must caution you against attempting to deceive me. Of course not. You possess the alarm bell. I cannot deceive you. Meng Shui Rong snorted coldly. I did not anticipate your understanding of me to be so profound. As he spoke, he produced a fist-sized treasure chest from his bosom. The chest expanded instantly, opening before Lu Yu, revealing 11 gleaming golden artifacts, a golden ring, a golden ruler. Lu Yu's gaze swiftly traversed the 11 items, ultimately landing on a radiant golden mask. Without hesitation, he reached forth and seized the mask before the chest could close, simultaneously deducting 10,000 from his coin balance. Golden mask, special item, effect. When worn, it erases all traces of your past. Before anyone, you shall exist anew. The effect dissipates upon removal of the mask. Cooldown, 24 hours. The golden mask, this is it. Chapter 71, The Means to Survive. Witnessing Lu Yu procure the golden mask, a pang of sorrow tugged at Meng Shuirong's lips. He was the owner of the treasure chest, yet not its master. Opening the chest required a significant expenditure of coins. Anyone who beheld the items within could spend coins to claim one. The first item demanded 10,000 coins. The second 100,000 coins. The third one, 000 coins. Moreover, the more frequently the chest was opened, the fewer items would appear until ultimately, only 2 items would manifest with each opening. Upon the opening of the treasure chest, an even number of items is always expected to emerge. The appearance of merely 11 items this time. Could it be attributed to the excessive number of openings? Meng Shuirong furrowed his brow. Since acquiring this treasure chest, he had opened it thrice, obtaining 3 golden items in the process. Although he currently possessed the means to open the chest, he lacked the requisite gold to procure a 4th item. His initial intention was to amass 10 million gold coins before attempting to open the chest again. However, Lu Yu's insistence forced him to acquiesce, leaving him to watch helplessly as Lu Yu claimed one of the items. Yet, gold can be earned anew once this opportunity passes. It may not return. Meng Shuirong gritted his teeth. Surely, you can now reveal to me the means of survival? What of the teleportation scroll? Lu Yu remained unmoved, insisting that the teleportation scroll must first be secured. How vexatious. A flicker of murderous intent sparked in Meng Shuirong's eyes as he impatiently produced a scroll. Is this sufficient? You have provided me only 1 scroll. Where is the second? You think I will hand over 2 scrolls? What if you and your comrade flee with both? Lu Yu observed the deep bond between Meng Shuirong and his ally. I can only grant you 1 scroll for now. Should you use it to escape, your companion will be left behind forever. Without the second scroll, I shall remain silent. Lu Yu's demeanor was resolute. He was determined to acquire both scrolls. Meng Shuirong seemed to finally lose his patience, his expression contorting into one of ferocity as he advanced toward Lu Yu. Do not presume I lack the courage to kill you. A sphere of golden light coalesced in his hand, and a golden beam shot forth, piercing through the recently resurrected Chenju. Damn it. Lu Yu's fury ignited as he recalled how Meng Shuirong had slain Chenju before his eyes on 2 occasions. Had the abyss truly descended, Chenju would have met his permanent demise. Yet, Lu Yu clenched his jaw. Without the second scroll, I shall remain mute. Meng Shuirong's eyes narrowed, his gaze sharp as a blade directed at Lu Yu, suggesting that he might erupt in violence at any moment. Lu Yu met Meng Shuirong's stare without a trace of fear. If anything, his resolve intensified. What manner of carnage had he not witnessed? A mere manifestation of the abyss could not terrify him. He had lived through its arrival. On the battlefield against otherworldly foes, he had cut through countless races. Dare to glare at me. Meng Shuirong appeared momentarily taken aback by Lu Yu's sudden ferocity, instinctively diverting his gaze. Yet, in the next instant, he recognized this act of avoidance as a sign of weakness, compelling him to force his eyes back upon Lu Yu. This brief exchange had already betrayed his trepidation. Unfazed, Lu Yu continued to stare down Meng Shuirong. If you possess the audacity, kill me, and you shall forever be deprived of the means to survive. Meng Shuirong took a deep breath, gradually averting his gaze, still fearful of death. A scroll soared towards Lu Yu, who reached out to catch it, meticulously examining the details on the 2 scrolls. Excellent. Both are spatial scrolls that allow departure from this place. Lu Yu smiled faintly. Well, I can now divulge the information to you. Wait. Meng Shuirong pulled out a small golden bell from his bosom, resembling one from the temple, yet lacking a clapper. You should recognize this, but let me remind you, should you utter a falsehood, this bell will sound. At that moment, I will ensure your demise is more excruciating than that of your companions. Lu Yu shrugged. To survive then, there is a feasible method. Meng Shuirong leaned forward, intent on capturing every word Lu Yu was about to utter. That is to challenge and slay an individual who has completed their second-class transition, during the interval from the onset of a shift in the heavens to its complete conclusion. And then, there is no and then. It is that simple? Are you jesting with me? Lu Yu pointed at the bell. It has not rung, and you have only just transitioned to your first class. How dare you claim that defeating a second-class individual is easy? Meng Shuirong gazed at the bell, which indeed remained silent, affirming Lu Yu's words. Ha ha ha. I have discovered the means to survive. Ha ha ha. Meng Shuirong laughed heartily, only to suddenly turn to Lu Yu. Boy, I initially intended to kill you, but you have piqued my interest. Until we meet again. A formation materialized beneath Meng Shuirong, a flash of golden light engulfing him as he vanished. This mad merchant's skill is astonishing. Chenju thought enviously as he beheld the spot where Meng Shuirong had disappeared. Are you envious? Chinju nodded. Each skill consumes between 1,000 to 50,000 gold coins. Ah, never mind then. Furthermore, Lu Yu shot Chinju a glare, delivering a firm slap to the back of his head. Did I not tell you before that regardless of what occurs, you must not interfere? Ouch. Chinju clutched his head. I was merely concerned you were on the brink of death. Besides, after my first resurrection, I did not move. Yet I was still killed again. You still resist. Lu Yu raised his hand, feigning another strike. Chinju hastily interjected. Brother Yu, I was wrong. I was wrong. Brother Yu, what you mentioned earlier about the sky darkening and something consuming people. Could that be the upcoming update for the game? Lu Yu pondered for a moment. Something along those lines, you will soon find out. That version is called the Abyssal Descent. So what you just said about needing to kill a second-class character to survive is true? Oh, that was just something I casually stated. Then why did the bell not ring? Is that item bugged? Golden items do not encounter bugs at this stage. Then why? When the abyss descends. As long as you do not take your own life, you can survive by any means necessary. However, it is merely in a different form. Lu Yu silently added in his heart. As for what you just said to him, I was merely speaking casually. Regardless of what I propose, the alarm will not sound. Chinju, Chapter 72, Assassination. Brother Yu, you truly are remarkable. But how do you possess such knowledge? This game lacks an official website or any trailers. Why are you so talkative today? Lu Yu produced 2 scrolls and handed one to Chinju. Well, the matter is settled. Let us depart swiftly. Chinju accepted the scroll, and they simultaneously unfurled it, a formation illuminating beneath their feet. At that moment, a sudden glint of cold light flashed by. Lu Yu swiftly shielded himself with the scroll and leapt backwards. The tip of a dagger grazed Lu Yu's chin, leaving behind a conspicuous miss. As the scroll was cleaved in two, Brother Yu, Chinju's words were left unspoken as he was teleported out of the map. He hurriedly opened the chat interface. Brother Yu, should I come looking for you again? Focus on leveling up. Do not come here and hinder my progress. I finally made it to the leaderboard, and now I've barely lasted half a day before being knocked down. Oh, then be cautious. Chinju exhaled softly. He had been quite exhausted from the act he just put on. Regrettably, having briefly claimed the top spot on the leaderboard, he had now not only fallen from grace, but was entirely absent from it. Nevertheless, he could still take pride in having once been a top-tier player. Moreover, leaving him to level up alone, he could hardly gain 2 levels in this span of time. A sure win. He never expected his good friend to truly be a master of clear liquor. Thinking of this, a grin unconsciously crept upon Chinju's lips. Lu Yu gazed at the ruined scroll with a tinge of regret. Alas, one must make sacrifices to achieve their desires. So, you intentionally lured me out, did you? Lu Yu nodded. You, a person of your caliber, would never relent until your objectives are met. You must have seized the moment to infiltrate my protective circle when I entered the 3rd layer. Yet, despite the numerous opportunities prior, you restrained yourself, waiting for this very moment. You believed this moment to be when my guard was most relaxed, and it was your decisive strike. The shadow fell silent for a moment before responding. So, in that case, my initiative indeed fell within your expectations. You maintained a critically low health state to bait me. Did you? Lu Yu shrugged, more or less. Surrounding them, the skeletal soldiers encircled Lu Yu and the shadow tightly, leaving no gaps. You are quite confident. Surrounding me to challenge me one-on-one? I am a summoner. Why would I engage in a duel with you? Lu Yu regarded the shadow with disdain in his eyes. To discuss a one-on-one with a summoner is the act of a deluded youth or a fool. A summoner, you say? Then I shall ensure you have no opportunity to summon your beasts. The shadow's tone dripped with derision, yet its form had already transformed into an ephemeral wisp. Darting towards Lu Yu, the goblin general, with his left hand grasping as if to summon the tides, invoked the power of the ocean. However, the shadow's speed was too formidable. The goblin general's attempt to ensnare it with his spell proved futile. In the blink of an eye, the shadow stood before Lu Yu. Anticipating the encounter, Lu Yu had already begun to retreat at a rapid pace, while a dozen skeletal warriors positioned themselves between him and the shadow. The dagger sliced forth like a rapier, instantly dispatching a bloodied skeleton. The remaining skeletons quickly raised their spears, yet the shadow vanished from sight, continuing its relentless pursuit of Lu Yu. Undeterred, Lu Yu continued his retreat, commanding the encircling skeletal soldiers to advance in layers. Today, he would drown the shadow in a tide of numbers. Your strategy is commendable, but alas, your summoned beasts are too sluggish. The shadow danced nimbly among the skeletal warriors, effortlessly dispatching any that obstructed its path with a flurry of skills. No matter how the skeletal soldiers attempted to surround it, the shadow always managed to break free, maintaining a distance of no more than 3 paces from Lu Yu. Were it not for Lu Yu's silver-grade shadowless boots, he would have undoubtedly been overtaken by the shadow by now. Nonetheless, Lu Yu remained composed. His current speed was sustained by his equipment, while the shadow's swiftness relied on its skills. Lu Yu could maintain this pace indefinitely, yet the shadow could not. Skills have durations and cooldowns. Ultimately, its velocity would diminish. Indeed, after dispatching yet another skeletal soldier in its path, the shadow's speed noticeably waned. It cast a furious glance at Lu Yu's boots before vanishing once more. Having learned from the previous encounter, Lu Yu would not grant it another chance to flee. The skeletal soldiers surged forward, not immediately seeking the shadow's location, but rather encircling the entire area. This time, the shadow could not escape. Lu Yu felt a surge of confidence. As long as the shadow lacked a long-distance teleportation skill, it would surely remain within the confines of the encirclement. In addition to the skeletal warriors currently surrounding this area, Lu Yu had also maintained 3 layers of impenetrable barriers on the periphery. These layers had not been released, serving as a contingency against the shadow's potential escape. The inner encirclement was complete, and at Lu Yu's command, the skeletal soldiers tightened their formation incrementally. At last, Lu Yu began to hear the faint sound of footsteps within the encircled space. Clearly, the shadow was beginning to panic. Yet, Lu Yu refrained from rushing in, continuing to instruct the skeletal warriors to constrict their encirclement. Having previously deceived this individual, he could not discount the possibility that they might feign distress and turn the tables on him. Until he grasped the full extent of his opponent's capabilities, Lu Yu would remain vigilant. Finally, as the space within the encirclement shrank to less than 2 square meters, the shadow revealed itself voluntarily. Lu Yu stepped forward with a subtle smile, inquiring, "What hidden cards do you still possess?" The shadow let out a sigh. "I had not intended to resort to this skill for a mere summoner. It is a disgrace for an assassin. Yet, you are no ordinary summoner, and forcing me to this point is indeed a testament to your prowess." Lu Yu clicked his tongue, perceiving this individual as rather juvenile, akin to a child yet to mature. However, in the next moment, a chilling sensation coursed through his back as a dagger pierced his heart. A frigid voice echoed from behind him. For others, a backstab must be executed from the target's rear. As for me, I can materialize behind my target at will. Though the cooldown for this skill is somewhat lengthy, it suffices to eliminate you. By the way, I appreciate the guild establishment token and the 10 pieces of silver equipment you provided. With your demise, your level should reset to 0, correct? The shadow withdrew the dagger, and Lu Yu's lifeless body gradually slumped to the ground. Yet, unbeknownst to the shadow, a faint smile graced Lu Yu's lips as he fell. At last, I have compelled you to reveal your trump card. Chapter 73. The innocent youth. Lu Yu's body collapsed, transforming into a golden light that vanished, leaving behind a golden mask. The goblin general grasped the mask with his left hand. The shadow's smile vanished instantaneously. His interest was not in the mask, but rather in Lu Yu's body. Although it was his first venture into this malevolent realm, he had gleaned insights into its death mechanics. Particularly after witnessing Chun Zhu's demise, he understood more acutely. In this map, a body would neither respawn nor disappear upon death. The soul would linger nearby. Yet now, Lu Yu's body had vanished. Why? Furthermore, and most crucially, he had not received any combat notification for killing Lu Yu, nor any bounty reward. Was it an illusion? Impossible. When he accepted the commission, the employer had informed him that one of Qing Jiu's summoned beasts possessed illusion skills. Thus, he had deliberately sacrificed some attributes to equip himself with an item that warded off illusions. Moreover, the summoned beast capable of such illusions had not appeared. A sinister premonition began to swell within the shadowy figure. As an elite, he would not entertain the notion that this was a mere system bug. On the contrary, he sensed that all of this was anticipated by Qing Jiu. Outside, the skeleton soldiers continued to encircle him, while additional layers of summoned beasts constructed further barriers beyond the outer 3 layers. The shadow glanced around at the summoned beasts encircling him, a wave of dread washing over him. This impenetrable encirclement left him virtually no chance of escape. However, rather than contemplating his escape, he was far more intrigued by how Qing Jiu had managed to orchestrate this. The shadow was certain that the one it had slain was indeed Qing Jiu, not an illusion or a mere trick of the mind. Yet, all indications pointed to the fact that Qing Jiu was still alive. Through the goblin general's perspective, Lu Yu sensed the shadow's confusion and panic. He smacked his lips. Everything was unfolding as he had anticipated. Protected by his summoned beasts, he descended the staircase from the 2nd floor to the 3rd. Approaching the periphery of the encirclement, he exchanged glances with the shadow from a distance. Upon seeing Lu Yu's sudden appearance, the shadow, after a brief moment of astonishment, let out a soft sigh. Qing Jiu, you truly are alive. I must concede. You possess more skill than I initially presumed. Lu Yu curled his lip. What did more skill even mean? He had been toying with the shadow all along. The shadow raised a hand. I admit defeat. Withdraw your summoned beasts and explain how you have returned from the dead. Lu Yu remained silent as the encirclement began to constrict inward. Hey. I've already admitted defeat. What more do you desire? When you killed me earlier, did you show any mercy? If I hadn't truly killed you, then what was that? Lu Yu chose to ignore the shadow, allowing the skeleton soldiers to continue closing in while ensuring he remained within a safe distance. He could not afford to be careless. The shadow's abilities were exceedingly formidable, particularly that last backstab. The ability to teleport seemingly out of thin air was alarming. The shadow claimed that this skill had a long cooldown. But who could ascertain the truth of that? If he got too close and the shadow executed another backstab, it would spell trouble for Lu Yu. You truly wish to kill me? Dying here would cost me 5 levels. You just said that if I perish, my level would reset to 0. In comparison, losing 5 levels seems trivial. Qing Jiu, don't push me. Lu Yu frowned. Could this fellow have a hidden card? If you keep pressing, I will call for help. Call for help. Lu Yu had no time to ponder this when a voice suddenly echoed from above. System announcement. Player shout: the most wanted criminal in Lingfeng City, Qingjiu, is currently located on the 3rd floor of the General's Tomb, map in Lingfeng City, coordinates, comma. Everyone hurry. He is now at low health and has no summoned beasts, making him easy prey. Killing him will yield 10 pieces of silver equipment and 1 guild establishment order. Come quickly, Lu Yu. Is this what you meant by calling for help? Sending out a system announcement to lure players? Not to mention how many would dare to enter a level 20 training ground. Just by the words you spoke, it was clear you were deceiving everyone. If I were truly low on health and without summoned beasts, why wouldn't you simply kill me yourself instead of announcing it to let others take advantage? However, you truly are wealthy. The system announcement was dispatched without hesitation. For a moment, Lu Yu found himself both amused and exasperated. How could a top-tier expert, whose skills rivaled his own, be so lacking in intelligence? Before being born, were all the special points allocated to operations? Upon noticing Lu Yu's pause, the shadow felt a surge of pride. How about it? Are you scared now? You'd better run while you still can. Lu Yu smirked. Even if I were to flee, there would still be time to eliminate you once. As thousands of skeleton soldiers surged forth, the shadow had yet to finish speaking when his body collapsed. System prompt. You have slain player. Lu Yu gazed at the lifeless form upon the ground, calculating the time until his resurrection. It would be an affront to his intellect and tenacity in outsmarting the shadow if he did not guard this corpse. System announcement. Player shout: Qingjiu, please accept my friend request. We need to talk. Don't linger over my corpse, please. Lu Yu opened the request list, and a flurry of friend requests from players instantly appeared. Huh, just a moment ago, you were so tough. Why the sudden cowardice? Lu Yu closed the request list and continued to watch over the shadow's body. System announcement. Players shout: Great Qingjiu. I was wrong, spare me. I beg you to accept my friend request. System announcement. Players shout: Brother Qingjiu. Please, don't linger over me. I'll do anything you ask. Lu Yu reopened the request list and opened a temporary chat box. Show me your player information. The shadow immediately replied. Big brother, can we change the request? I care about my reputation. Lu Yu promptly closed the temporary chat and summoned another batch of skeleton soldiers. No. Big brother. Let me show you. An information panel appeared before Lu Yu. Nickname. Pure-hearted youth level. 18 class. Abyssal shadow assassin. Lu Yu stared at the 2 simple lines of information, momentarily at a loss for words. Pure-hearted youth. He recalled attempting to name himself that but received a notification that it was already in use. The first time he encountered this name in the game was through a system announcement. Pure-hearted youth was the first player in the entire server to enter the secondary main city. He never expected to see it again today. And what was even more shocking was his class, Abyssal Shadow Assassin. Another class beginning with Abyssal. As an Abyssal summoner, Lu Yu understood precisely what that prefix entailed. No wonder, even with his extensive experience from 2 lifetimes, he found battling this player to be quite challenging. It turns out they were both individuals of interest to the Abyss. At that moment, Pure-hearted Youth's resurrection time had arrived. He immediately sprang to his feet, brushing off the remnants of the shadow around him, and raised his hands above his head. Big brother, please don't strike. I surrender. Chapter 74. The second Abyssal class. Lu Yu scrutinized Pure-hearted Youth before him, his brow furrowed. This voice was unmistakably that of a middle-aged man, while this appearance was undoubtedly that of an innocent little girl. Is this the online gaming version of Wanggang? I inquire, you respond. Should your answer fail to satisfy me, I shall reduce you to level 0. Even if I leave this map, I will leave behind thousands of skeletal soldiers to pursue you. My dear fellow, you may ask, and rest assured, if it is within my knowledge, I shall surely meet your expectations. If I am unaware, I shall fabricate a response that will please you nonetheless. Lu Yu, first, tell me how you managed to locate me. This was the foremost question in Lu Yu's mind. If the intent was to assassinate him for a bounty, that notion crossed the minds of all players, yet few could actualize it. This was not solely due to Lu Yu's prowess. More significantly, he had never set foot in Lingfeng City. A level 2 main city is far from the triviality of a novice village. To find someone in such an expansive map is akin to reaching for the stars. Even Zhu Xiaochuan, who had encountered him at the Gathering Stronghold, could not ascertain his whereabouts. After such an interval, Zhu Xiaochuan could not guarantee that Lu Yu remained in the Gathering Stronghold. Someone informed me that by following a person known as the Invincible Beautiful Man, I would find you, dear brother. The naive youth spoke earnestly, addressing Lu Yu with an affectionate brother. Someone told you? Lu Yu immediately grasped the crux, realizing that the individual who knew he could locate him by following Chun Zhu must surely be well acquainted with their relationship. This person must be someone familiar to him. Lu Yu quickly deduced. This individual must be Zhu Xiaochuan. Zhu Xiaochuan. The naive youth appeared bewildered, clarifying that it was not Zhu Xiaochuan, but rather her nickname, Out Yin. Xiaoyi, Sun Xiaoyi. Lu Yu's expression darkened instantly. The naive youth trembled in fear, hastily assuring, brother, it was indeed she who told me. I did not deceive you. I did not suggest you were lying. Continue. How did you learn this from her? The naive youth breathed a sigh of relief, though still shaken. That Out Yin. Xiaoyi sought me out, stating that if I could vanquish you, dear brother, she would accompany me for 3 nights. Lu Yu regarded the naive youth with skepticism. Are you male or female? Female, I am female. Do not believe me? I shall prove it to you. As the naive youth spoke, they reached into their trousers. Stop, stop, stop. Lu Yu quickly interjected. While certain taboo actions may occur in the abyss, it is not necessary. It's all right, brother, you may look. The naive youth, continuing, retrieved a data card from their pocket. This is a proof I specifically sought from the City Lord. The gaming pod collects players' bodily information, which can be fashioned into cards by the City Lord. Lu Yu, you wish for me to view this? So you are LL? The naive youth hastily shook their head. At that time, I too concealed my body with a shadow cloak. She was unaware of my femininity. Moreover, even if I were LL, I would hold no interest in her. That wench is not even as attractive as I am. Lu Yu nodded. And listening solely to the voice, one would never imagine that the rather lewd-sounding uncle was, in fact, the face of a lively and adorable girl. Although I had no interest in her, I was quite intrigued by the guild order and the 10 pieces of silverware. Ahem, brother. My prior interest in the guild order and the silverware has completely dissipated. Lu Yu cast her a glance. Continue. Oh, all right. I informed her that I could not find your whereabouts, and then that wretched woman pointed to the previously mentioned handsome man, claiming that following him would lead me to you. You are already aware of the subsequent events. Lu Yu nodded. The ensuing matters involved my struggle of wits and courage alongside this innocent youth. However, why did Sun Xiaoyi hire someone to kill me? Was it instigated by Zhu Xiaochuan? That seemed unlikely. Even if Zhu Xiaochuan were a scoundrel, as a man, how could he permit his woman to engage in such actions? Was it a decision made solely by Sun Xiaoyi? What could have motivated her? Lu Yu shook his head, deeming it irrelevant to him. From the stakes Sun Xiaoyi had offered, it appeared she was not faring well. Lu Yu clicked his tongue, dismissing the matter from his mind. Brother, am I meeting your satisfaction with my answers? The innocent youth's eyes brimmed with anticipation. I haven't finished my inquiry. Oh, brother, please continue. How did you come by your profession? Having grasped the situation surrounding the assassination attempt, Lu Yu's curiosity was now piqued regarding the innocent youth's vocation. As fellow bearers of the Abyss prefix, how could Lu Yu not be interested? If you wish to know this, it's quite a lengthy tale. I dislike unnecessary chatter. Very well, brother, I shall be concise. After registering my account, I began selecting a profession and stumbled upon the Shadow Assassin class, which I believed to be a hidden profession, and thus I chose it without hesitation. And then, Lu Yu was particularly interested in the term Abyss. The Shadow Assassin, while a formidable hidden class, paled in comparison to the Abyss. Initially, I intended to watch the promotional video. Although I understood the probabilities in gaming, there was a chance. A gamble that could turn a bicycle into a motorcycle. The innocent youth clenched his right fist against his chest. Enough with the tangents. Oh, the outcome was that I clicked incorrectly and was thrust directly into the game, being among the first 10 to enter. The system notified me that the Abyss had taken notice of me and had influenced my profession, transforming it into Abyss Shadow Assassin. Lu Yu nodded. The innocent youth's circumstances appeared quite similar to his own, albeit entirely a matter of luck. Brother, there is something I have been quite curious about. What is it? This map seems to lack an exit? Lu Yu nodded. There is indeed an exit, but generally speaking, it is difficult to locate. How are we supposed to exit? Do we need that kind of scroll from before? Lu Yu nodded once more. The innocent youth murmured softly, had I known, I would have stolen it first and then dealt with you. What did you say? Huh, I meant, brother, how are we supposed to get out now? Chapter 75. The Golden Ring. Lu Yu shot a fierce glare at the innocent youth. If it weren't for this fellow, he would have already been in possession of the golden mask and departed from the general's tomb. You seem quite aware, already claiming it as we. The innocent youth chuckled. From now on, I will follow you, big brother. If you tell me to go east, I shall not venture west. If you instruct me to chase a dog, I shall not pursue a chicken. Lu Yu thought, this guy truly knows how to ingratiate himself. He glanced at the scroll that had been cleaved in two. Frankly, this was not something he had anticipated. Who would have thought that instead of striking at himself, this fellow would take aim at the scroll? How to exit? You ask me? Who should I inquire? At this moment, there are two options for leaving. Either they obtain a map from the abyssal beast, or descend to the final level to confront the boss. The probability of fortuitously stumbling upon an exit is even slimmer than finishing all the dumplings from the first day of the Lunar New Year without finding any money, only to discover 2 coins in the belly of the younger brother. As for the first option, Lu Yu did not recall any abyssal wild monsters within the general's tomb. Regarding the latter, a level 60 skeletal general would not have even warranted a glance from Lu Yu in his previous life. However, now, Lu Yu considered the innocent youth. If they were to escape, this fellow might still prove somewhat useful. But what if he released this guy from their encirclement, only for him to slip away in an instant? That would pose a significant risk. Should he strip him of his equipment? In circumstances where levels and skills are comparable, equipment can determine everything. Had Lu Yu not possessed the Crocodile King's leather armor and shadowless boots, he would have been swiftly eliminated by the innocent youth from the outset. Similarly, if the innocent youth were to lose his equipment, he would pose less threat than a squad of copperbone skeletons. Lu Yu's gaze settled on the innocent youth. This fellow had not deactivated the sheen of his equipment, and most of his gear was composed of black iron, with his weapon and shoes even being of bronze. Sensing Lu Yu's scrutiny, The innocent youth suddenly shivered. Brother, what are you planning? Remove your equipment and hand it over to me. Brother, please, I'm just a child. The minimum sentence is 3 years. The maximum is the death penalty. Enough nonsense. You won't suffer any consequences from removing your gear. Also, hand over that golden item you took. Golden item? What golden item? The innocent youth queried, confusion etched across his face. Do not feign ignorance. The treasure chest, upon being opened, is guaranteed to yield an even number of items. Yet, I have only witnessed 11. I must commend your swiftness. My dear fellow, I assure you, I possess no golden artifacts. The innocent boy wore a look of profound grievance, on the verge of tears. Lu Yu smirked, finally realizing that this individual was far from foolish. Rather, he was quite astute, and his acting was remarkably convincing. You truly are unaware? Completely oblivious? Then the solution is simple. I shall reduce you to level 0, and that item should materialize. Are you referring to this golden artifact? I shall present it to you at once. Lu Yu observed as the innocent boy swiftly retrieved a golden ring from his backpack, extending it towards him. Lu Yu took a step back, and the goblin general effortlessly absorbed the ring. Lu Yu remained exceedingly cautious of the innocent boy. One must be vigilant when a mage confronts a cunning assassin. Who knows whether the cooldown for his backstab has expired? If he were to enter striking range and land a backstab, all of Lu Yu's meticulous planning would be rendered futile. The innocent boy pursed his lips and promptly donned a conciliatory smile. Lu Yu accepted the ring from the goblin general. Golden ring, special item, effect, upon wearing. You may pair with any target. If the target possesses independent consciousness, their consent is required. Upon successful pairing, you can gain real-time insight into all situations concerning that target for 24 hours. Cooldown, 24 hours. What a remarkable effect. Very well, you need not remove it. Come. Let us pair. What are we pairing for, brother? Can this game truly be played in such a manner? Lu Yu retorted, I have not entertained any other notions. What occupies your mind? Have you not read the item's effects? The innocent boy stuck out his tongue. I merely grabbed one at random. And my thoughts were solely on how to eliminate you. I had no time to examine it. Lu Yu was left speechless. He donned the ring and promptly sent a pairing request to the innocent boy. The boy's expression froze. Brother, is this truly necessary? Lu Yu scoffed. This fellow indeed harbored ulterior motives, and he was grateful for his own vigilance. Now, Lu Yu harbored serious doubts about whether the innocent boy's backstab cooldown had concluded. Did you not claim you would follow me? You may either consent to the pairing or remain here to amuse my summoned creature. The choice is yours. Then you might as well reduce me to level 0. The innocent boy displayed a defiant demeanor. In the next moment, dozens of copper daggers descended upon him simultaneously. The innocent boy's eyes widened in disbelief, unable to fathom Lu Yu's decisive action. With no room for retreat, he took his own life. Moments later, the pure-hearted youth resurrected, and the skeletal soldier raised its weapon once more. Brother, I was wrong. I will pair with you, whatever you say. I will comply. Lu Yu remained silent, and sent another pairing request. The pure-hearted youth's face turned ashen, yet he ultimately clicked confirm. Instantly, all the pure-hearted youth's information and status were laid bare before Lu Yu. Lu Yu opened the panel of the pure-hearted youth without hesitation. He was indifferent to her attributes. What he yearned to uncover was the professional talent of the Abyssal Shadow Assassin. Nickname, Pure-Hearted Youth Level, 13 Class, Abyssal Shadow Assassin, Official, Class Talent 1. You can freely enter and exit stealth mode. And while in stealth, you cannot be detected by any means. Class Talent 2. You can conceal all of your information. Lu Yu smacked his lips, disregarding one's presence. The talent of the Abyssal Shadow Assassin was formidable, almost tailor-made for the assassin vocation. However, in comparison to his own abilities, it seemed rather inferior. Could it be that this class is a late-game profession? Lu Yu then opened the skill panel of the pure-hearted youth, scanning through the skills. Blind, maim, stealth. Among a dozen skills, with only a few being universal, while the rest required specific mentors or skill books to learn. When Lu Yu reached the final skill, backstab, his brow furrowed. The backstab skill indeed illuminated, indicating it was ready for use. Excellent. He had nearly been caught off guard just moments ago. Lu Yu looked up at the pure-hearted youth, only to find her grinning foolishly at him, exuding an innocent demeanor. Never mind, Lu Yu thought. Even if he were to gather all the skeletons on the 5th floor alone, he would still struggle against the skeleton general. The pure-hearted youth was also an abyssal class. Together, they might stand a chance. Hand me your weapon. Oh, all right. Having learned from the previous lesson, the pure-hearted youth became exceedingly compliant. She obediently tossed her weapon to Lu Yu. He reached out to catch it. It was indeed a bronze dagger, and a top-tier one at that. No wonder it hurt so much when striking. I'll return it to you once we reach the 5th floor. Brother, you speak as if it were a trivial matter. This mere bronze weapon is but a gift for you as a token of our meeting. Lu Yu replied, if you truly knew how to handle matters, I wouldn't have had to take your weapon first. Lu Yu stowed the dagger in his backpack. Now, all of the pure-hearted youth's movements would be displayed in real time to him, and devoid of a weapon, she posed little threat. Let us go. We're heading to the next level. Brother, is the exit on the next floor? Ask fewer questions, just follow me. All right, brother, now that I'm unarmed. You must protect me. Lu Yu, your voice is ill-suited for masquerading as a sweet girl. Chapter 76. The fourth layer. Lu Yu walked ahead, while the innocent youth trailed closely behind like a submissive spouse. The two entered the fourth layer of the general's tomb. Brother, why is it so eerie here? I'm scared. A chill wind swept through, causing the innocent youth to shiver involuntarily. Lu Yu replied, do not pretend to be a sweet girl in front of me again, understood? Alright, brother, I understand. The innocent youth promptly adopted a tone reminiscent of a robust man from the northeast. Lu Yu inhaled deeply and then exhaled quietly. Forget it. Let it be. He tightened the leather armor around him, feeling a twinge of cold. The perception system within the abyss could not be entirely deactivated. It had to remain at a minimum level of 10. To enhance his reaction speed, Lu Yu kept his perception level above 50. Although the first 3 layers were filled with chilling winds, they were manageable. However, upon entering the 4th layer, the coldness intensified sharply. The prior 3 layers were merely an appetizer. It was only upon entering the 4th that they truly approached the general's tomb. Lu Yu did not dare to underestimate the situation. If memory served, the monsters in this layer had already undergone their first evolution. Suddenly, a neighing of a warhorse echoed from the darkness, followed by the thunderous sound of galloping hooves. A cadre of armored skeletal knights, wielding long spears, charged forward. Silver Bone Skeleton Soldier, Elite Monster, Level, 40 Health, 250, 000 Attack, 1, 200 Defense, 1, 000 Description. They are cavalry under the direct command of the Skeleton General, willing to offer everything, including their lives, in service to him. Dozens of skeletal knights surged forth. The innocent youth gaped in astonishment, as if his mouth could accommodate an entire banana. Brother, knights, is this a hidden profession among hidden monsters? No. Knights are one of the branches of the warrior class upon first evolution. After transitioning to a knight, one can tame and ride mounts. As Lu Yu spoke, he swiftly arranged for his summoned beasts. With a flick of his hand, he summoned all the copper bone skeleton soldiers. To combat cavalry, archers were indispensable. Shoot the rider before the horse. Even against skeletal knights, this adage remained valid. Arrows flew toward the skeletal steeds, not necessarily to inflict significant damage, but to disrupt the mount's obstinacy and unseat the silver bone skeleton soldiers. The presence of a horse and its absence represented 2 entirely distinct concepts. A mount could provide substantial health and defense bonuses to the cavalry, significantly enhancing their mobility. A cavalryman without a horse was often outmatched by a standard warrior of the same level. After a volley of arrows, several knights from the front row toppled from their steeds. However, the skeletal cavalry did not grant the archers a second chance. They had already closed the distance to the summoned beast camp. The foremost iron-bone skeleton soldiers, wielding shields, could not maintain their formation for even a moment before being scattered by the charge. The skeleton cavalry that burst in wasted no time beside the iron-bone skeletons. Their numerous long spears aimed directly at the ranks of skeleton archers. In an instant, 20% of the archers were reduced to mere fragments of bone. This is bad. I'm doomed. The innocent youth exclaimed, instantly slipping into stealth mode, vanishing from sight. Utilizing the golden ring, Lu Yu could clearly see her swiftly retreating until she nestled herself into a corner, motionless. Lu Yu thought to himself, what use are you? He promptly summoned a battalion of iron-bone skeletons to encircle the fallen cavalry, ensuring they could not remount. Meanwhile, he directed other skeletons to entangle the incoming silver-bone skeletons, thwarting their escape and preventing a second charge. The disparity in levels rendered the majority of Lu Yu's summoned beasts incapable of resisting the skeleton cavalry. At that moment, the goblin general stood at the forefront, one of the few summoned creatures capable of withstanding the cavalry's assault. With a mighty roar, 18 goblin elite guards materialized out of thin air, though their levels were low. The dual-layered war horns enhancement and their coordinated efforts allowed them to restrain 1 or 2 skeleton cavalry. What are you hiding in the corner for? Do you wish to be beaten? The goblin general shouted. Suddenly, the innocent youth recalled that within the next 24 hours, she held no secrets before the liquor lord. She had previously entertained the notion of watching the conflict between the clam and the heron, hoping to benefit as an outsider. Alas, she miscalculated. If she continued to stand idly by, she believed the liquor lord would prioritize eliminating her, even at the cost of being slain by the skeleton cavalry. Determined not to linger any longer, the innocent youth gritted her teeth and activated her skill, Backstab. She appeared behind a skeleton cavalryman, inflicting blindness and debilitation before swiftly entering stealth mode once more. After executing her combo, the skeleton cavalryman faltered significantly, its spear flailing aimlessly in the air. Lu Yu's eyes brightened. This was the breakthrough he sought. The previously scattered skeleton archers immediately turned back, disregarding the pursuit of other skeleton cavalry, and unleashed a volley of arrows. The skeleton cavalryman was swiftly left in a state of near death. The goblin general advanced, delivering several swift strikes, ultimately sending the creature into Lu Yu's summoning space. In the next moment, a silver skeleton cavalryman appeared beside Lu Yu, charging at the silver bone skeletons. Lu Yu sighed in relief. As long as one could be dealt with, the others would follow suit. Upon observing the innocent youth again, he discovered that within those brief seconds, she had inflicted debilitating and blinding effects upon 3 silver bone skeletons. This young girl certainly possessed a fierce edge when she chose to engage. Chapter 77. The Charge of the Cavalry Brother. You need to deal with those half-disabled skeleton cavalry quickly. Their incapacitation is about to end. Lu Yu silently concentrated, multitasking becoming increasingly demanding. He not only had to command the skeleton archers to evade the cavalry's charge, but also sought opportunities to counterattack, while directing the iron-boned skeletons to delay the repeated assaults of the cavalry. The cavalry that has already been vanquished must be summoned promptly to rejoin the fray. Most importantly, Lu Yu must always maintain a portion of his attention on the innocent youth. For this seemingly docile yet inherently crafty young girl, Lu Yu exercises caution. Brother, that one. The one that is about to regain its strength. Once it recovers, won't you engage it again? Understood, brother, I shall go at once. The innocent youth swiftly entered a stealth mode and dashed behind the skeletal cavalry. The recently revived skeletal cavalry was once again rendered incapacitated. It must be said that the intervention of the innocent youth significantly simplified Lu Yu's confrontation with the skeletal cavalry. Initially, Lu Yu had intended to deploy a couple of thousand summoned beasts to gradually exhaust the 40 skeletal cavalry. Now, with the assistance of the innocent youth's debilitating effects, it was anticipated that casualties would not exceed 1/3 of the original estimate. Utilizing an assassin as support was a strategy only Lu Yu could conceive. Minutes passed, and half of the 40 skeletal cavalry had become Lu Yu's summoned beasts. Lu Yu finally exhaled in relief, with a ratio of 20-20. The cavalry's charge would be completely intercepted midway, no longer posing a threat to the rear archers. The tide of battle had officially turned. The innocent youth returned breathless to Lu Yu's side. Brother, I am utterly exhausted. How did I perform just now? The innocent youth bore a visage eager for praise. Lu Yu nodded. Well done. Now go and afflict the remaining skeletal cavalry with negative status. The innocent youth's face fell. Brother. Approaching them to apply the status is perilous. One misstep could lead to my demise. Lu Yu shot a cold glance at the innocent youth. However, with his command, the young girl felt emboldened to face any challenge. For the sake of my brother, I shall brave the fiery depths. The innocent youth took a deep breath and charged forth once more. Excellent. Lu Yu nodded in approval. It appeared that this young ally proved far more useful than that fellow Chinju. The skeletal cavalry would play a crucial role in the ensuing battle. Given that Lu Yu's healing spell had an extensive cooldown, it was impossible to restore the life of all skeletal cavalry in a short span. Hence, minimizing damage was imperative. After a few more minutes, all skeletal cavalry had become Lu Yu's summoned beasts, with most maintaining over 80% health. The innocent youth dragged herself back, appearing as if she had overindulged. Brother, all the cavalry has been dealt with. Good. Let us press forward. There are 2 more waves. Take this moment to rest, and we shall continue shortly. There are more? The innocent youth immediately felt a sense of despair. Her current state was not entirely feigned. Maneuvering through thousands to flank the target and inflict negative status, then retreating before the skeletal cavalry could react, was no small feat. This endeavor demands formidable reflexes and operations that approach their limits. Lu Yu believes that even if he were to take the place of the pure-hearted youth, he would not fare much better. However, a bit of exertion might serve her well, preventing her from constantly devising ways to contend with him. The pure-hearted youth suddenly cast a glance at Lu Yu, exclaiming, "Wait a moment, big brother, how did you know there are 2 waves? You've had your rest. So let us now seek out the second wave of skeletal cavalry." No, big brother, I asked nothing earlier. Allow me to rest a bit longer. The pure-hearted youth quickly conceded. Lu Yu readjusted the formation, placing the 40 skeletal cavalrymen at the forefront of the ranks. The true strength of the cavalry lay not in their immense health and defense, but in their impact and agility. The cavalry's charge ability allows them to swiftly advance towards a targeted foe and unleash an attack. Following the strike, they can rapidly retreat using their steed speed before launching another charge. This was precisely why, despite Lu Yu summoning a multitude of creatures, the skeletal cavalry managed to breach the rear ranks. The formation advanced slowly. Not only did the pure-hearted youth require a respite, but Lu Yu did as well. However, with the addition of the 40 skeletal cavalrymen, the ensuing challenges would be considerably more manageable. Minutes later, the distinct sound of neighing horses echoed from ahead. The second wave of skeletal cavalry was imminent. The foremost 40 summoned skeletal cavalrymen quickly prepared for battle. Few methods exist to interrupt a cavalry charge, but intercepting with a similar charge stands as one of the most effective strategies. 40 against 40. Both cavalry units surged forth simultaneously, 80 phantoms colliding in a fierce clash. The cacophony of horse whinnies, the clashing of lances, and the grinding of bones melded into a chaotic symphony. Following a fierce encounter, the 2 cavalry units swiftly separated, returning to their respective starting points for another charge. However, their health points had diminished to varying degrees. The pure-hearted youth, invigorated, declared, "Big brother, I'm going in." Before Lu Yu could respond, she slipped into stealth, appearing behind the first skeletal cavalryman in an instant. With a series of deft maneuvers, she executed a backstab that blinded and incapacitated her target. Without hesitation, she retreated into stealth once more. The incapacitated skeletal cavalryman slowed significantly, Seizing the opportunity, the skeletal archers in the rear unleashed a volley of arrows. Hundreds of arrows rained down upon the skeletal cavalryman, reducing its health to below half. Collaborating with an astute ally is indeed exhilarating. In the subsequent charges, Lu Yu and the pure-hearted youth executed their plan with precision, swiftly toppling all 40 skeletal cavalrymen. The number of Lu Yu's skeletal cavalrymen doubled. Big brother, your class is incredibly powerful. Can you tame any target? Are you probing into my class characteristics here? Of course not. The younger sister gazed in admiration at her elder brother, whose valor was unparalleled, a true hero of unmatched prowess. 7 times in one night. Each time more intense. Stop, stop, stop. Lu Yu urgently interrupted the innocent youth, fearing that if the conversation continued, they would find themselves confined to a dark room. Moreover, did this not present a contradiction? If you find yourself with nothing to do, why not venture ahead and see why the last squad of skeletal cavalry has yet to appear? No sooner had Lu Yu spoken than the distant sound of hooves echoed like a drumbeat, shaking the dust from the ground. Lu Yu furrowed his brow. Something was amiss. The sound suggested not merely 40 skeletal riders were approaching. Beside him, the innocent youth suddenly clasped his mouth in astonishment. Brother, the numbers this time are substantial. Chapter 78. The fragile necromancer ahead. Dust swirled as hundreds of skeletal riders surged forth. Lu Yu had no time to ponder the discrepancies between this third squad of cavalry and those from his previous life. He swiftly commanded the summoning of skeletal cavalry to prepare for a charge, then turned to the innocent youth. You are to bear the burden once again. Fear not, brother. The younger sister will ensure they arrive mounted and ready. Enough of your chatter. Off you go. The innocent youth cast a forlorn glance at Lu Yu before vanishing from sight. The skeletal archers in the rear had already unleashed their first volley. The opposing skeletal cavalry outnumbered Lu Yu's forces significantly. However, drawing from prior experience allowed Lu Yu to navigate the situation with ease. He summoned skeletal riders to intercept the majority of the approaching cavalry, while the remaining stragglers were engaged by the goblin general and other skeletal soldiers. The innocent youth incapacitated one enemy, and the archers swiftly eliminated it with 2 rounds of concentrated fire. The previous collaboration had forged a remarkable synergy between Lu Yu and the innocent youth. The increase in enemy cavalry did not disrupt Lu Yu's formation. Within mere minutes, the tide of battle began to shift dramatically. Lu Yu even permitted his summoned beasts to attack autonomously, as they were now in a dominant position. Brother, your summoned creature just hit me. It hurt. The innocent youth lamented loudly. Lu Yu pressed his lips together, regaining control over his summoned creatures. It was not that he wished to be overly vigilant. Rather, the young lady's words always carried an unintended connotation. The presence of over 100 skeletal riders did not alter the outcome. As expected, they all entered Lu Yu's summoning space. The number of skeletal riders within his realm had now reached 200, sufficient to wage a small-scale battle. As they advanced, the entrance to the 5th level lay before them. Yet no further skeletal cavalry appeared. Instead of relief, Lu Yu felt a twinge of regret. Had a few more waves of this magnitude arrived, he could have assembled a formidable cavalry battalion. Regarding the sudden increase in the number of cavalry in the 3rd wave, Lu Yu found himself at a loss for an explanation. However, the malevolent map was essentially a projection of the monster's lair, rendering it inscrutable. It was impossible for it to remain static with each entry. Brother, we are approaching the 5th level, where the monsters on the 24th level are elites. This 5th level is likely to house abyssal creatures, Lu Yu remarked, casting a surprised glance at the pure-hearted youth. You seem to be aware of the abyssal creatures, Lu Yu noted. Well, brother, I am among the top few of the lone wolves. Knowing about abyssal creatures is hardly a remarkable feat, the pure-hearted youth replied confidently. Of course, brother. When I say top few, I mean excluding you. With you around, I can only claim to be second at best, Lu Yu retorted, ignoring the clumsy flattery of the pure-hearted youth. The 5th level should still consist of elite monsters. Let us proceed. It should be manageable. Manageable? The 4th level nearly cost me my life, and now we face the 5th. The pure-hearted youth exclaimed. Wait for me. Without looking back, Lu Yu stepped into the 5th level. If his memory served him right, there were very few monsters here. Only 4 undead mages. As Lu Yu's foot struck the damp tiles, it echoed with a sharp sound. In the darkness, a flicker of purple flame suddenly illuminated the area. Lu Yu recognized it not as a candle, but as the flame atop the undead mage's staff. Golden Bone Skeleton Soldier, Elite Monster, Level 50 Description. They are the most capable subordinates of the Skeleton General. Those who dare to intrude shall be reduced to ashes. Indeed, they were merely elite monsters, Lu Yu sighed softly. This indicated that after dealing with the 4 undead mages, he would still have to confront the Skeleton General. Although Lu Yu was well acquainted with the Skeleton General, understanding both oneself and one's enemy does not guarantee victory against a sufficiently powerful foe. Brother, wait for me to lure one monster back. The pure-hearted youth became unusually proactive this time. Just as he entered stealth mode, Lu Yu grabbed him. This time, you needn't bother. Stay here and don't create chaos. Understood, brother. The pure-hearted youth had not attempted any tricks for quite some time, which left Lu Yu feeling somewhat unaccustomed. He glanced at the pure-hearted youth and noticed the latter gazing at him with admiration, which caused the corners of his mouth to curve slightly. To be honest, if this little girl remained silent, she would undoubtedly be the ultimate dream for countless otaku. With a single gesture, 200 skeletal cavalry materialized before him. 5 skeletal cavalry formed a unit, resulting in 200 being divided into 40 groups. Under Lu Yu's command, one group of cavalry locked onto the nearest undead mage. Charge! The warhorses neighed, 5 lances lifted in unison, and the skeletal cavalry surged forward like a blade, aiming directly for the heart of the undead mage. Without the protection of a front line, the undead mage lay vulnerable, akin to a maiden lying cleanly on a bed. The 10-level disparity in rank could easily be compensated for by sheer numbers. The necromancer could not possibly evade the oncoming cavalry through mere maneuvering. With a swift motion of its staff, it vanished from its original position, instantly relocating several meters away while enveloping itself in a protective shield. However, at that very moment, the second wave of cavalry charged forth. 5 long lances thrust simultaneously, causing the shield surrounding the necromancer to fracture with a multitude of cracks. The third wave of cavalry followed suit, and the shield shattered in an instant. Subsequently, the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th waves of cavalry surged forth. There was no 8th wave. For by the time the 7th wave's lances were unleashed, the necromancer's health had plummeted to 0. Its form transformed into a beam of light, soaring into Lu Yu's summoning space. Concurrently, a similar scene unfolded at 3 other locations within the 5th-level hall. In less than a minute, 4 clusters of violet flames vanished, only to reappear beside Lu Yu. Silently, he expressed gratitude for the gifts of the general's tomb. Had it not been for the skeletal cavalry of the 4th level, he could not have so effortlessly dispatched the necromancers of the 5th level. Yesterday, while observing the village chief's duel in the novice village, he realized just how formidable a first-turn mage could be. "Brother, you are so handsome," the innocent youth exclaimed with admiration. Yet Lu Yu felt no joy, for the demise of the 4 necromancers signified the arrival of the true boss. Suddenly, the entire general's tomb trembled violently. "Humans, how dare you disturb this general's sweet dreams? I shall transform you into a mere skeleton, to serve at my feet." Chapter 79, The Skeleton General. Brother, what was that sound? Have we not already dealt with the wild monsters of the 5th level? The battle has only just begun, Lu Yu replied, tossing the innocent youth's dagger to her. "If you wish to venture out, do not try to deceive me. Focus all your efforts on defeating this boss." A level 60 boss was a matter of uncertainty for Lu Yu. "Brother, when have I ever tried to deceive you?" The innocent youth caught the dagger and promptly entered a state of stealth. Lu Yu paid her no mind, as the skeleton general had already awakened. In the darkness, a spectral blue flame erupted with sudden intensity. Sturdy white bones soared from the flames, arranging themselves in midair. In no time, they formed a 3-meter-tall humanoid skeleton. The sockets of the skeleton's eyes burned with a deep blue flame, fierce and unyielding, a stark contrast to the feeble flickers of the skeletal soldiers encountered earlier. The skeleton reached down into the azure flames at its feet and slowly drew forth a long, formidable bone blade. Immediately, the flames gradually solidified, coalescing into a blue skeletal warhorse. The skeletal general leapt onto the steed. Skeletal General, Golden Boss, Level, 60 Skills. Charge, Sea of Corpses, War Tread, Invincible Body. Death Rebirth Description, the Sovereign of the General's Tomb, commanding tens of thousands of skeletal soldiers. This 60-level Golden Boss is identical to its former incarnation, possessing an unaltered array of skills. In contrast to the Goblin General, while they are both designated as generals, their status within their respective races diverges significantly. The Goblin General stands as the pinnacle of the Goblin hierarchy, one of its leading figures, and among the most formidable across all races. The one subdued by Lu Yu is merely the weakest projection of the Goblin General's essence. Conversely, the Skeletal General represents a vast multitude within the undead lineage, undeniably the most numerous among all races. Countless generals, patriarchs, and lords exist within their ranks, yet they are all under the dominion of a singular Bone King. Although Lu Yu had never encountered the true form of the Bone King, he had seen this type of skeletal general countless times. On the battlefield of myriad races, the skeletal general is akin to a sergeant or captain within the human military. Even on expansive battlefields, they serve merely as fodder. However now, a creature that once resembled mere cannon fodder has become an imposing mountain looming over Lu Yu. "Brother, this is a golden level boss. If we defeat it, might it drop a golden artifact?" Lu Yu found himself momentarily speechless. Theoretically, it could yield a golden artifact, but this was a level 60 golden boss, towering over him by more than 40 levels. The young woman's first thought was not how to conquer it, but rather how to procure loot from it. Or had her instinct to retreat upon sensing an overwhelming foe vanished. Nevertheless, the naive thoughts of youth appeared not entirely misplaced. Today, it was a matter of kill or be killed. If the skeletal general did not drop gear, would they simply perish? Human adventurers, tremble. Today, this shall be your final resting place. The skeletal general bellowed, spurring its warhorse into a charge toward Lu Yu. Faced with a level 60 golden boss, Lu Yu dared not hold back in the slightest, summoning all his primary summoned beasts. He then layered the war horns of 2 levels. In a sudden movement, he executed a technique of duplication. An identical doppelganger of Liu Yu materialized. Following this, a healing potion restored his health to its prime condition. WOC. Brother. So you possess a duplication skill. No wonder you survived when I previously struck you down. Liu Yu replied. Is this truly the time for such remarks? Just as before. You focus on status, while I deal the damage. As he maneuvered, he continued to speak. Among masters, there is no need for further elaboration. Once each individual has established their position, the course of action becomes evident. The pure-hearted youth, with unwavering resolve, swiftly struck from behind the skeletal general, executing a series of debilitating and blinding maneuvers. The skeletal general's condition was palpably diminished. A subtle smile graced the pure-hearted youth's lips, even as a level 60 golden boss. It remained vulnerable to the negative effects he bestowed. Following his relentless assault, he left no opportunity for the skeletal general to retaliate, vanishing instantly into a state of stealth. The pure-hearted youth possessed absolute confidence in his stealth. His class's distinctive trait ensured that, as long as he refrained from initiating or receiving an attack, he would remain undetected. However, in the next moment, the skeletal warhorse reared its forelegs high before crashing down with tremendous force. War trample. The bone hooves smashed into the ground, sending fissures radiating outward. Within a 5-meter radius of the hooves, the tiles shattered entirely. The pure-hearted youth, having barely taken a few steps, gasped as half of his health vanished in an instant, and he was forcibly expelled from stealth. Area attacks were indeed the arch-nemesis of stealth abilities. In the early stages of the game, group skills were rare, and wide area attacks were even more elusive. Unfortunately, the pure-hearted youth found himself facing one now. As he prepared to re-enter stealth, a bone dagger descended from above, leaving him with but a sliver of health. Panic surged through the pure-hearted youth. How could it perceive him? Was the blinding effect ineffective? At this moment, any additional blow would undoubtedly spell his demise. Should he drop 5 levels, he would fall below level 10. The skeletal general's warhorse charged forth. Even if he attempted stealth now, he would be unmasked. Brother, save me. The pure-hearted youth's voice trembled, desperate to avoid plummeting below level 10. Just as his plea fell from his lips, a golden figure intervened, pushing him aside and taking his place. The warhorse collided violently with Lier, sending him flying several meters, leaving only a significant miss in its wake. Widow Wong tossed a handkerchief, summoning an intricate magical array beneath the skeletal general's feet. System notification. Your summoned creature, Widow Wong, has successfully cast the skill seal on the skeletal general, reducing all attributes by 5 for a duration of 3 minutes. Against a boss of this caliber, Widow Wong's sealing effect was significantly diminished. Brother, what are these peculiar creatures? They seem rather unusual. The pure-hearted youth inquired while consuming a potion. She had retreated to a safe distance, re-entering stealth. Although she could not discern the precise details of Lier and Widow Wong, she had an inkling of their general information. Liu Yu was reluctant to explain. How could one elucidate the arrival of the abyss to someone who had never experienced it? Quickly regain your composure. The negative effects of the boss will not last long. As Liu Yu spoke, he commanded his archers to unleash their full potential. The cramped confines of the 5th level could accommodate only 1 or 2,000 summoned beasts, rendering optimal damage output impossible. Furrowing his brow, Liu Yu pondered whether the skeletal general could traverse to other levels. Logically, the entire general's tomb was its domain. As the master of this abode, it should possess the freedom to access every corner of its home. With this thought in mind, Liu Yu promptly began to make his way back to the previous entrance. Having lost sight of the pure-hearted youth, the skeletal general swiftly redirected its focus to Liu Yu. Charge! The skeletal general and its steed transformed into a fleeting shadow, hurtling towards Liu Yu with astonishing speed. Its charge skill was significantly more formidable than that of the skeletal cavalry, rendering any attempt at interception by the latter futile. Confronted with such velocity, Lier was unable to provide rapid support and could only brace himself. Gritting his teeth, Liu Yu prepared to withstand the impending collision. In the next moment, he felt as though he had been struck by a speeding automobile, his body tracing an elegant parabolic arc through the air before landing at the entrance of the 5th level. With but a sliver of health remaining, he had not perished. Liu Yu exhaled in relief, not daring to delay for even a moment. With a single gesture, he summoned all his beasts back into the summoning space and turned to enter the 4th level. The pure-hearted youth, still in the throes of potion consumption, was taken aback. Did my brother flee? Am I left alone? What should I do? The skeletal general surveyed the surroundings, detecting no signs of life. The echoing thuds of its skeletal steed's hooves reverberated against the tiles, with a sweep of its bony blade. The skeletal general urged its steed towards the entrance of the 4th level. The pure-hearted youth sighed in relief, realizing that he had not been discovered. This was a fortunate turn of events. The stealth state was indeed absolute in its concealment. The prior onslaught from the skeletal general had forced him out of hiding, followed by a precise strike that had instilled a hint of insecurity in him. Yet, it appeared that the effects of his abyssal vocation were still in play. As long as that was the case, all was well. However, with his brother and the boss both ascending, could he afford to linger here for a moment? Would it be prudent? Should his brother falter and perish, he knew he could not hope to vanquish the boss alone. His brother, with a multitude of summoned beasts, was unlikely to fall. From this perspective, it seemed quite plausible that his brother could indeed vanquish the boss single-handedly. The previously tenacious and troublesome summoned beast had negative effects that were no less potent than his own. Moreover, it seemed that the blindness effect had little impact on the boss. Whether he ascended or remained below, the difference appeared negligible. Perhaps it would be wiser to refrain from ascending and simply await his brother's resolution of the boss. No, that was not quite right. In the present moment, one cannot remain idle. When the elder brother discovers a means of departure, he certainly will not include the indolent. Elder brother, here I come, the pure-hearted youth exclaimed, dashing towards the fourth floor. Upon entering the fourth floor, Lu Yu promptly summoned a multitude of skeletal warriors near the entrance, then hurried towards the entrance of the third floor. The spatial constraints of the fifth floor proved insufficient. He needed to reach the third floor to summon all the archers. In the battle against the skeletal general, ranged attacks were the predominant source of damage. The skeletal general trailed closely behind Lu Yu. As it entered the fourth floor, dozens of blades and spears were thrust towards the skeletal warhorse, significantly diminishing its resilience. In the next instant, the skeletal warhorse raised its bony hoof once more. War trample. The skeletal warriors encircling the entrance were instantly reduced to fragments. The iron-bone skeletons, though gravely wounded, still managed to launch a second attack, further lowering the resilience of the skeletal warhorse. Meanwhile, Lu Yu continued his sprint towards the third floor, summoning skeletal archers to unleash a relentless barrage upon the skeletal warhorse beneath the general. He was not in haste to inflict damage, without the conditions for sustained output. Any harm dealt would swiftly be replenished automatically. However, if he could unseat the skeletal general, it would temporarily lose its most formidable skills, war trample and charge. The resilience of the skeletal warhorse gradually waned, now below half. At last, the skeletal general had cleared the entrance of all skeletal warriors. At this juncture, Lu Yu had exceeded the maximum range of the charge skill, locking onto a skeletal archer and initiating the charge. The skeletal general transformed into an ethereal image, colliding with the archer and sending it flying. Entering the throng of archers, it did not rush to eliminate them. Being an intelligent creature, the skeletal general understood that vanquishing Lu Yu was far more advantageous than dispatching a few summoned beasts. After the charge, it continued its pursuit of Lu Yu. Lu Yu left a clone and a cadre of skeletal warriors to delay the pursuit, while he himself pressed forward without a glance back. Only upon entering the third floor could he commence a full-scale attack. Prior to that, every assault served merely to buy time for the main body and to diminish the resilience of the skeletal warhorse. Observing Lu Yu waiting along the path, the skeletal general's eyes flared with an intense azure flame. With a shrill neigh, the skeletal warhorse charged directly at Lu Yu. The iron-bone skeletons had already erected a shield wall midway, but how could a wall constructed by several 25-level skeletal warriors hope to withstand a 60-level golden boss? The iron-bone shield wall was scattered by the force of the skeletal warhorse's charge. At that moment, the cooldown for the charge skill expired. The skeletal general transformed into a fleeting shadow and surged towards Lu Yu. Lu Yu's clone, possessing merely half of the main body's maximum health, stood no chance of enduring a single charge. In the instant when the warhorse collided with Lu Yu's doppelganger, it shattered into fragments and vanished. The skeletal general was momentarily taken aback. The life force in this vicinity had dissipated. However, in the distance, there remained a presence remarkably similar. Scattered archers continued to chip away at the resilience of the skeletal warhorse. Instantly, all aggro transferred entirely to Lu Yu's true self. The skeletal general urged the warhorse forward, charging towards Lu Yu's corporeal form. Lu Yu gazed ahead. The entrance to the third level lay directly before him. His doppelganger and the remaining skeletal soldiers had perished, and he had no knowledge of the whereabouts of that naive youth. With no time to consult the golden ring to check on the youth's condition, Lu Yu pressed onward. Suddenly, a neighing echoed behind him. The skeletal general was upon him. As Lu Yu stepped into the third level, the skeletal general followed closely. The distance between them a mere 10 meters, far from sufficient for a charge. Lu Yu had yet to fully replenish his health. A single charge from the skeletal general could easily spell his end. Chapter 80. The first kill of the golden boss. Lu Yu gestured, summoning the goblin general behind the skeletal general. With a deft motion of its left hand, it unleashed a torrent of energy, ensnaring the advancing skeletal general. The skeletal general, opting to temporarily spare Lu Yu, redirected his steed, raising his bone blade to strike at the goblin general. The goblin general hurriedly raised its weapon to defend. Although it towered over the skeletal general, it found itself powerless against the forceful cleave, barely managing to guard itself. Finally afforded a moment to breathe, Lu Yu raised his hand to cast a healing spell, replenishing his health. Simultaneously, with a single gesture, a multitude of summoned beasts materialized upon the expanse of the third level. The spatial confines of the third level could not accommodate all summoned creatures. Thus, Lu Yu was compelled to leave the skeletal remains within the summoning space. All skeletal archers were summoned forth, destined to be one of the two principal forces in the ensuing battle. The remaining space, aside from the necessary maneuvering room, was filled with iron-bone skeletons. This battle would require sacrifices. The skeletal cavalry readied themselves for a charge, while the necromancers began their incantations. The necromancers of the 5th level, equipped with not only blink and shield skills, possessed a group skill Swarm of Wraiths and a single target skill Undead Ember, reaching level 50. The necromancers were Lu Yu's highest level summoned beasts, and their magical attacks countered heavy armor effectively. These 4 necromancers constituted the second major force against the skeletal general. As the Undead Ember skill activated, 4 emerald flames surged towards the skeletal general. Although the flames moved slowly, their power was formidable. Upon contact, the embers would cling to the target, inflicting a relentless burn that dealt 1,000 damage per second until the target succumbed. Even the skeletal general would not escape this fate. Moreover, this state of combustion can accumulate up to 10 layers. For streams of flames surged toward the skeletal general from all directions. As long as 1 or 2 touched him, they could effectively hinder his regenerative abilities. As the former master of the necromancer, the skeletal general was acutely aware of the insidious nature of the undead flames. Although these verdant flames could not claim his life in the short term, they would be as bothersome as maggots clinging to flesh. Upon seeing the undead flames approach, the skeletal general swiftly repelled the goblin general with a bone knife and then charged towards a distant iron bone skeleton. His form transformed into a fleeting shadow, leaving behind 4 large miss indicators in his wake. Lu Yu gritted his teeth, feeling a surge of frustration. The existence of the charge skill was the most vexing aspect for him. With a notably short cooldown, it was nearly impossible to target him during the charging process. It was imperative to subdue the skeletal general first to eliminate him. The skeletal archers unleashed a volley of arrows, leaving a myriad of miss indicators behind the skeletal general. Only a handful of arrows managed to strike him, but they were swiftly replenished by his automatic healing. Without the oppressive presence of the skeletal general, the goblin general finally found a moment to breathe. That brief interval had already allowed the goblin general to activate his invulnerability. Despite being nearly 30 levels apart and 2 tiers lower, withstanding the skeletal general's critical strikes for over a minute was already the goblin general's limit. Having evaded the undead flames, the skeletal general immediately redirected his focus back onto Lu Yu. Damn it, where had that pure-hearted boy vanished to? The negative effects on the skeletal general had worn off, and the debuffs from Widow Wang's seal no longer inflicted substantial detriment. Moreover, to diminish the resilience of the skeletal warhorse, his backstab combo would prove more effective. With a mighty roar, the skeletal general charged towards Lu Yu. He could not allow it to close the distance. 200 skeletal cavalrymen simultaneously initiated a countercharge, with 200 skeletal steeds surging toward the skeletal general's phantom. The advantage in numbers finally became apparent at this moment, as one skeletal cavalryman successfully intercepted the skeletal general, while the rest quickly surrounded him. The spears relentlessly struck the skeletal general's warhorse, gradually eroding its resilience. However, in the next moment, the skeletal general's steed reared its bony hooves, war trample. The ground fractured, and the resilience of the surrounding skeletal cavalry's steeds plummeted to 0, transforming hundreds of skeletal cavalrymen into infantry in an instant. The skeletal general's bone knife swept through, causing a significant drop in the life points of the skeletal cavalry. Lu Yu hastily recalled them. Within the general's tomb, all skeletal soldiers would obey the skeletal general's commands, yet now they had become Lu Yu's summoned beasts, having escaped his dominion. Once these skeletal soldiers perished and respawned, no longer bound by Lu Yu's summons, they would immediately rush back to protect him. The other skeletal remains, whether composed of bone, iron, or even bronze, could be swiftly dealt with by Lu Yu upon their respawn. However, the skeletal cavalry posed a far more formidable challenge, particularly when confronted by a multitude of them. If hundreds of skeletal riders were to align against Lu Yu simultaneously, the situation would swiftly spiral out of control. With the skeletal cavalry no longer a concern, the skeletal general turned its attention towards Lu Yu. This highly intelligent creature evoked both admiration and disdain in Lu Yu. Before Lu Yu could fully react, the skeletal general's steed charged towards him. In a critical moment, Lu Yu summoned Li Er to shield him. Yet, Li Er's diminutive form proved utterly incapable of withstanding the onslaught of the skeletal warhorse. With a resounding thud, Li Er was sent flying, and Lu Yu, who stood unprepared behind him, was also propelled through the air. Lu Yu's back collided forcefully against the wall, his health plummeting by half. Yet, mercifully, the damage was less severe than had he absorbed the blow directly. The skeletal general was relentless, refusing Lu Yu a moment's respite as it spurred its skeletal steed once more, charging at Lu Yu. Lu Yu raised his hand to summon Widow Wang, initiating an illusion. However, the skeletal general merely shook its head, causing the mirage to dissipate swiftly. Human, your rudimentary illusions hold no sway over me. Do you believe I rely on my eyes to perceive the surroundings? No, I, the general, sense the vitality of your very life force to comprehend my environment. As a living being, your vitality is exceedingly robust, which I find quite distasteful. Lu Yu furrowed his brow. Illusions had always been his trump card. When he had slain the goblin general, Widow Wang's illusion had proved crucial. To his astonishment, this infallible tactic had failed against the skeletal general. Seizing the opportunity during the skeletal general's cooldown period, the skeletal archers hastened to diminish the resilience of the skeletal warhorse, which was now below 20. Yet, the skeletal general had closed the distance, raising its bone blade. Human, you may meet your demise. Lu Yu gently caressed his golden ring. Perhaps not. Suddenly, a glimmer of cold light flashed from behind the skeletal general as a dagger pierced the skeletal steed's leg bone, sharply reducing its resilience. The skeletal general on horseback stumbled, and Lu Yu seized the moment to evade the strike of the bone blade. You seek death. The skeletal warhorse reared up, ready to shatter with violence. However, the skeletal general suddenly realized that this small assassin had not entered stealth this time. After executing a series of crippling backstabs, he relentlessly continued to assault the skeletal steed's resilience. Where did you just go? Lu Yu began to ask, but the words caught in his throat. What had caused this fellow to fight with such fervor? Yet, he quickly gathered his wits. Regardless of the reason behind this sudden determination, he needed to focus on delivering damage. The skeletal archers promptly drew their bows, unleashing a volley of arrows. The skeletal general decisively abandoned his assault and charged at a nearby skeletal soldier. The arrows that flew toward him fell wide of their mark. As the skeletal general was already focused on the endurance of his steed, almost simultaneously with the conclusion of his charge, the innocent youth appeared behind him. A backstab. This time, the series of backstabs dealt entirely to the skeletal warhorse. The warhorse's resilience was finally reduced to a mere thread. Damn it! The skeletal general roared, swinging his bone blade downward. The innocent youth cast a fleeting glance at the blade, showing no inclination to evade, and executed yet another ordinary attack. The bone blade and the dagger struck simultaneously, and the youth's health bar plummeted to 0. The skeletal warhorse collapsed, and the skeletal general was unseated. The resilience had finally been shattered. System notification: the skeletal general's mount has been damaged and cannot be summoned again for 10 minutes. During this period, the skills, War Trample, and Charge, cannot be used. Excellent. The most troublesome phase has finally been resolved. Although the reason for the innocent youth's sudden fervor remained unclear, Lu Yu knew he must seize this opportunity. 10 minutes may seem brief, yet it would suffice. As the skeletal general fell to the ground, the azure flames in his eyes abruptly shifted to a blood-red hue. Simultaneously, the entire hall was enveloped in a crimson glow. The unseated skeletal general had entered his second form. Lu Yu smirked. Typically, the second form of the skeletal general was far more fearsome than the first. However, that was under normal circumstances. The skeletal general drove his bone blade into the ground, then spread his arms wide. The fallen skeletal warhorse instantly transformed into a pool of crimson blood. The blood rapidly spread, soon covering the entirety of the third floor. System notification: Skeletal General has activated the skill Sea of Blood and Mountains of Corpses. Within the skill's range, the most vital units will suffer 80,000 damage per second for a duration of 10 minutes. 80,000 damage per second, prioritizing the most vital units. For ordinary players, this meant almost certain death every second. This skill was undoubtedly a nightmare for players attempting to strategize against the boss in a team. Big brother, you're doomed too. The innocent youth lamented in the chat box, clearly having received the system notification. Lu Yu paid no heed to her cries. Just as the blood began to spread, a colossal figure emerged in the center of the third floor. The Millennium Treant. Who could rival its vitality? This was the confidence that empowered Lu Yu to challenge this golden boss despite being over 30 levels lower. With 5 million health points, combined with the skill, Life Resurgence, that restored 1 maximum health point per second, and Healing Art, which restored 50 maximum health points. It was more than capable of enduring the 10 minutes of the Sea of Blood and Mountains of Corpses. At this moment, the Skeletal General was merely a high-attribute wild monster devoid of skills. With a commanding shout, Lu Yu ordered the skeletal archers to unleash a volley of arrows. Devoid of a steed, the Skeletal General's imposing figure became a living target. A series of damage indicators erupted from its crown, visibly diminishing its health. Human, you shall perish. Yes, indeed, I shall perish, but the one destined to die now is you. The skeletal warriors, both the bony and the ironclad, charged forth, intercepting the oncoming skeletal general. Lu Yu stood at the rear, silently observing the skeletal general as its health continued to wane. After a brief moment, the innocent youth was resurrected. She approached Lu Yu, offering her dagger. Brother, it seems I won't need to intervene any further. Lu Yu nodded. Indeed, keep the dagger for yourself. The innocent youth paused, tears brimming in her eyes. Brother, have you truly come to trust that I won't betray you? We have finally established a bond of trust. Nonsense. You are now at level 8 and cannot equip this dagger. The innocent youth silently stowed the dagger away. Brother, you seem to possess quite a knowledge of this boss. Where did you find the strategy? Lu Yu maintained his gaze ahead. I believe we should inflict some additional negative status effects on the boss. Otherwise, you should go, brother. I suddenly realize how handsome your profile is. The innocent youth interrupted, having fallen below level 10 and completely averse to further risk. 5 minutes later, the skeletal general's invincible form triggered its death recovery skill. Utilizing its invincibility, it charged fiercely towards Lu Yu. Lu Yu stood motionless, expressionless. watching as the skeletal general approached within 5 meters, its invincibility dissipating. Another 3 minutes passed, and the skeletal general was left with but a sliver of health. With a wave of his hand, Liu Yu commanded all skeletal soldiers to cease their assault. The goblin general grasped the skeletal general and pulled it closer. A long blade swept through, severing the skeletal head, which rolled to the ground. The general's tomb, what a fitting name. This general belonged to the skeletal general, not the goblin general. The skeletal general's body transformed into a beam of light, soaring into Liu Yu's summoning space. Simultaneously, 4 items fell to the ground. System prompt. Congratulations on achieving the first kill of the golden level boss, Skeletal General. Rewards, 60,000 reputation, 200 experience, 3,000 gold, and the item, Token of Glory. System announcement. Congratulations to player, Qingjio for achieving the first kill of the golden level boss, Skeletal General. Rewards, 60,000 reputation, 200 experience, 3,000 gold, and the item, Token of Glory. This announcement serves to encourage all players to continue their efforts. Brother, didn't we slay the boss together? Why did I receive no reward? Liu Yu cast a glance at the innocent youth. We weren't in a party. WOC. Brother, I forgot. I did not forget. Merely a simple reluctance to join forces with you. In Pure-Hearted Youth. Chapter 81. The Spoils of the Skeleton General. Liu Yu approached the spot where the boss had fallen, while the pure-hearted youth wisely refrained from following. Liu Yu picked up the loot scattered on the ground, totaling 4 items, a pair of leather gauntlets, a necklace, a token, and a map. Along with the first kill reward, the Certificate of Glory. He now possessed 5 items in total. The map was essential for departure, allowing for immediate teleportation or guiding him to the exit. Glancing at the obedient pure-hearted youth, Liu Yu decided it would be best to leave together shortly. He then examined the remaining 4 items one by one. First was the unremarkable leather gauntlet, whose color and material suggested it was merely a piece of black iron. Upon inspecting the attributes of the leather gauntlet, he discovered, sealed and enclosed, golden item, level, 30 magic power, 600 defense, 1200 attack speed, 60 magic resistance, 550 additional, increases the user's maximum health by 10. Effect, sealed and enclosed, forms a shield in front of the body, reducing damage by 50 for 10 seconds. Trait, proficient, reduces the user's level requirement by 10 levels. Description, have you studied Tai Chi? Gulp. Liu Yu swallowed hard. A golden item. The first piece of equipment he obtained was a golden one. With a defense of 1200, it was nearly double his current defense. Had he possessed this item during the battle with the skeleton general, he would have dared to turn back and exchange a few blows with him. Of course, just a few, for lingering longer would surely spell doom. Without hesitation, Liu Yu equipped the sealed and enclosed. His previously bare wrists were instantly adorned with a shimmering golden armor, significantly elevating his defensive attributes. Brother, is this truly a golden item? Child, refrain from asking too many questions and just play. Brother, don't think you can hide this from me. The equipment leaderboard has updated, and your sealed and enclosed is now in first place. Liu Yu tapped his forehead. Indeed, his gauntlet had claimed the top position on the leaderboard, displacing the previously reigning silver sword. Scanning further down, he noted that his third-ranked equipment, the shadowless boots, still held its status. The once dominant Crocodile King leather armor from the novice village had plummeted to over 100th place. With the official's subtle encouragement, the number of players venturing into the abyss had soared to over 1 billion. Following Liu Yu and the old village chief's efforts to lift the restrictions imposed by the alien race on the novice village, the influx of players into the secondary main city surged dramatically. Currently, nearly 1 million players had entered the secondary main city, and as more novice villages became accessible, this number would only continue to grow at an accelerated pace. Liu Yu placed the necklace at the end, first examining the token. It was not a guild establishment token. Hunting the World, special item, effect. Upon activation, the token will spawn an unclaimed territory in a secondary main city. Available for all guilds to contest. Activation conditions. At least 3 guilds must be established within the secondary main city's range, and each guild's level must not be lower than 2. Bonus. The guild that activates the token receives an additional overall attribute boost in the contest. To Liu Yu's astonishment, this token had appeared so early in this life. Each secondary main city could spawn a maximum of 5 Hunting the World tokens. This meant that regardless of how many guilds were formed in Lingfeng City, only 5 could ultimately claim guild territory. Liu Yu stowed the token into his backpack. It could not be used yet, but the sooner it was activated, the better. His immediate goal was to establish his own guild swiftly and enhance its level and strength as much as possible before the other 2 guilds reached level 2. The next item was the Glorious Certificate, a reward for the first kill of a golden boss, which Liu Yu was quite familiar with. Glorious Certificate, guild item, description. When placed in the guild display rack, guild members receive an additional 3 experience points. This is a highly practical guild item, notably because its experience bonus can stack indefinitely. The pure-hearted boy watched Liu Yu examine the properties of each item. Placing them into his backpack, his eyes filled with envy. Ignoring the boy's envious gaze, Liu Yu continued to inspect the next item. which was the necklace he had set aside earlier. Luo Shui's seal, golden artifact, level, 30 critical hit, 20 attack, 200 speed, 20 bonus. Increases the user's hit rate by 10. Additional, increases the user's critical hit chance by 5. Effect, Desperate Strike, Desperate Strike. If you are not in stealth for the 3 seconds before using Backstab, you can ignore the cooldown and execute Backstab. Once more, this effect is invalid if the Desperate Strike skill has not been learned. Feature, Familiarity, reduces the user's level requirement by 10. Description, the assassin abandons stealth, indicating a willingness to risk everything. Excerpt from a certain elder's commentary, thanks to him. Oh. On the equipment leaderboard, Luo Shui's seal occupied the second position, surpassed only by that previous item, which was sealed tight. This necklace boosted attack speed, and critical hit rate, along with the additional effect of Desperate Strike. It was truly custom-made for an assassin. Lu Yu glanced at the pure-hearted boy, who was staring at him with unwavering eyes. Brother, is this another golden artifact? Lu Yu replied reluctantly. Can I take a look? What are you looking at? I feel that this equipment seems to resonate quite well with me. Lu Yu, that's not right. Since I didn't team up with this girl, she shouldn't be able to see the information about the equipment. So how does she know that this gear is compatible with her? Is it a guess? What a coincidence. Reluctantly, Lu Yu showcased the information of the seal of Luo Shui to the innocent young boy. In the next moment, the boy's expectant gaze sparkled with an additional glimmer. Brother, how can I accept such a precious piece of equipment from you? I never said I was giving it to you. Brother, if I take your equipment, it means I'm yours from now on. Stop. Lu Yu quickly interrupted. I haven't said anything yet. And you're already trying to swindle a second-ranking golden artifact from me with just a few words. Well, I thought you were going to give me the necklace. If that were the case, this would be the first necklace I've ever received. Lu Yu sighed. Little pure, given my vocal condition, let's refrain from such flirtatious talk. Also, in my life, I only have brothers, no women. The innocent young boy's hopeful expression dimmed swiftly. If he had known, he shouldn't have attempted to assassinate Qingjiu in the first place. However, if he wanted this equipment, it wasn't impossible. Hearing Lu Yu's words, the boy's eyes brightened. Brother, whatever you need, just say it. Even if it means, all right, stop talking and listen to me. Lu Yu immediately cut off the boy's words, preventing any hint of inappropriate implications. My request is quite simple. I will be forming a guild, and I need you to join my guild for at least 3 months and participate in all major guild activities on time. Brother is establishing his own power. I will certainly follow you loyally. The innocent young boy replied earnestly. Lu Yu nodded and tossed the seal of Luo Shui to him. You're only level 8 now, so you can't equip it yet. I'll help you level up and also farm some gold. Brother, I know a great place. Chapter 82. The dwarf with a changed temperament. Lu Yu pulled out a map and followed its directions toward the exit. The recent collaboration with the innocent young boy had further solidified Lu Yu's confidence in the girl's skills. Lu Yu's own technical prowess had been honed over 3 years, while this young girl seemed to possess an extraordinary talent, especially since she belonged to an abyssal class. He had long planned to recruit her into his guild. Initially, he struggled to find something that would entice her, but who would have thought that a dedicated assassin's golden artifact would come his way? It was almost a sure thing. As for the boy's previous attempt on his life, Lu Yu had already set it aside after they dealt with the skeleton general together. Besides, this girl had never successfully killed him. In fact, he had eliminated her twice. Moreover, her golden ring was still in his possession, so it was hard to view this as a loss. Let's call this matter settled. The general's tomb has been thoroughly cleared by Lu Yu, rendering this malevolent map's wild monsters dependent solely on the number of summoned beasts. Lu Yu has perished. My dear companion, allow me to guide you to an exceptional leveling spot I have discovered, where both experience and gold drop rates are exceptionally high. The pure-hearted youth, who has acquired the seal of Luo Shui, yearns to return to level 20 immediately. After witnessing Lu Yu's remarkable monster-slaying speed, she felt a deep envy. Now that Lu Yu has voluntarily offered to assist her in leveling up, she promptly presents her finest leveling map. As the first player to enter the secondary main city, she is well acquainted with numerous high-quality leveling maps, but has refrained from venturing into them due to her low level. With Lu Yu as her formidable ally, she finally has the chance to explore them. What kind of map is it? Please enlighten me, she inquires. The pure-hearted youth gazes skyward, contemplating. It is a dwarven mine. But the dwarves there seem to have undergone some mutations, making them quite aggressive. A dwarven mine, inhabited by aggressive dwarves? Lu Yu furrows his brow, recognizing several dwarven maps. The dwarven race is renowned for its craftsmanship and mercantile acumen, and it has remained one of the few neutral races after the Abyss's emergence. However, this so-called neutrality is rather unfriendly towards humans, as the equipment they sell to humans is priced several times higher than that offered to other races. Yet, they have never exhibited aggression towards humans, merely acting as unscrupulous merchants. Given that the wild monsters are projections of their respective races, how could there be dwarves with heightened aggression? Could there be maps yet unknown to him? It is not outside the realm of possibility. Most of Lu Yu's memories pertain to the primary main city and the battlefield of myriad races. It would not be surprising if he had forgotten a few leveling spots in the secondary main city. He decides to accompany the pure-hearted youth to investigate. If the drop rates do not surpass those of the other maps he knows, he can always switch to another location. Currently, Liu Yu's reputation has reached the threshold required to establish a guild, and with the acquisition of a golden mask, he can safely enter the secondary main city. The only thing he now lacks is gold. After purchasing the golden mask, the 10,000 gold coins he had saved up have been depleted. He currently possesses only 3,000 coins from slaying the skeletal general, while the sum required to establish a guild is still 10,000. Liu Yu must generate 7,000 gold coins in the shortest time possible. The pure-hearted youth races ahead, with Liu Yu closely trailing her.